Good evening, kids. How you doing out there in YouTube land? It's Thursday night. It's time for Midnight's Edge After Dark. I am Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the producer extraordinaire, at least when he's not on vacation or business, that is, Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. Or is it Mike, the Mexican Batman now? Oh, you're muted, sir. Sorry about
I'm
that.
muted.
There
Wait,
you
am I
are.
muted?
You're not muted now. There you go.
Okay. I was gonna say that shirt you sent me is of high quality, very comfortable, I must say. But I am here, and I went through all the cushions in my car and the sofa, and I'm ready to make an offer on the CW. I think I got $3.24. Yep. Yep.
That might be about $2.29 more than it's worth, but
Well, I'm willing to negotiate. Let's get her done.
I mean,
Don't start too high, Mikey.
Well, here's the thing: do we really want it?
Look, if I get that thing and I got Script Doctor, he can turn crap into gold. I believe it.
Look, if he buys it for under $5,
like
we just need to sell
Rumpelstiltskin
it
or
for
something like
10.
that.
It's a form of alchemy.
This is
Script
true.
can do anything.
Speaking
It's
of,
all about the lulls, in case you can't tell.
we've got the one, the only Script Doctor with us as well, PhD on television and YouTube. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. How are you all today? Good to see so many people in the chat. This is awesome.
Yes. Nice start to the evening so far. And last but definitely not least is Jesse Miller of Jesse Miller over at the Crow's Nest. How you doing, my friend?
I can't complain. About to have some fun, making some jokes, ripping on some people. It's going to be a good show.
Excellent. And you never know, we may have some guests pop in. The stream link is out there to a few folk, but I don't like to say anything in case those people don't show up. So, yeah, but we got tons of shit to talk about. First and foremost, though, I want to take care of some Midnight's Edge After Dark business up front. Starting next Tuesday, we will be starting an hour earlier, which means we'll be starting somewhere around half hour late, but an hour earlier than we normally start.
Between 7 and 7:30, 45.
Exactly. Somewhere in there.
We'll be starting about 20 minutes earlier than normal.
Yeah, there you go. 40, 20 minutes, somewhere in there. Depends on the day. No, hopefully the plan is to get us back to our old time. Things have changed, so we're able to do that, and I think that'll help us not run into some of the later streams as well, which sometimes I'm a part of, and that becomes a pain in the ass, as are many of the other people here on the panel. So, yeah, so hopefully starting next Tuesday, that'll help things out. We're starting a little bit earlier, so keep that in mind, guys. We'll repeat that again later on in the show so everybody knows, but I just wanted to do that up front. Before we get too far, let's say hello to these lovely folks in the chat. We got Monster Huntress Rune, who looks like the first one to be able to pop in and say something. So you're first. You get the first C's. Then we got David Rayner. We got Annabelle Morales Sanchez. We got Cosmic Squirrel here. We got Edgy #1 sending in 5 pounds right off the bat, saying, hey, anybody want a job? Viacom CBS need a new VP franchise management executive for Star Trek. Get yourself to Lindekin and get your resume in. He's not wrong.
No, I nominated Robert Meyer Burnett.
I do too. That's right. Van Sitters is Van sitting outside the building wishing he had a job, or maybe he's glad he got the fuck out of there. But clearly Sitters was not doing very much of anything, it felt like. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to say to that, but
Well,
I'm with you, Script.
Yeah.
I think that was about says everything. We got Oddball here. We got Rudy here. We got Dr. Coffin Nails here as well, swinging around a wrench, I believe, and saying, hit that like button with the hammer, kids. Speaking of wrenches, I think we got Stephanie Janacek here as well. Rudy, we have Dermot McQuaid. Hello, everybody. Hellas Mallory's here. Welcome to the show. KR Now, I see Nick in the chat. How you doing, Nick? Max Relax is here. John Chipola. Pop Culture Curator is here. Jesus, I almost said something completely different. Todd Tyler's here. Max Relax. I said that already. But welcome. Steven, a.k.a. Deleted Scenes, is here and gives us a wave.
Does Max Relax know Max Power?
Maybe. Chef Nation is here. How you doing, Chef? We got HVP in the house. We've got Ryan Geiger. So many more. Kenneth LaRock. Thank you guys for being here. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Just like I'm sure James Ferrone has done it already, as I know Metal Runner has, and if he doesn't, I will come over there and whoop his ass because he's a little whippersnapper.
Hey, you know what? Nothing wrong with getting the younger generation on the right
That's right.
side. Get them
We
all
got
on the
Spider
right
here.
page.
We got
That's
Snowed
a
Up in
nice
the
guitar.
house. There's some hoes in this house. There's some hoes in this house. Hillis Mallory says Shang-Chi up for Oscars. Oh, wait, Eternals? Never mind. Yes, that'll actually get us into the bulk of the news, or at least the first part of the news, I should say. Here, and we got Goddess of Women in the house. Spider Unlimited sending in $1.99 super chat, and thank you for being a member as well. Says Tom, how's the weather up your way? It's fucking cold. It is fucking cold. Okay, it's like 3. I want to live someplace where the air doesn't hurt my fucking face.
It's -3 where I am.
Hey, is that not a Les Paul?
Let me look. It might be more than that now.
That looks like a Les Paul, but the cutaway looks like it has a different shape. What is that?
That is. It looks like a Les Paul to me, but I don't know that much about guitars. I guess it's
I love a nice.
It's 0 now, but so you guys still got me beat there, script.
I just checked, Tom, and back at home in Hilton Head, it's 68 degrees. With the overnight low was about 54. And out here in Southern California, we got blue skies, a slight northwesterly breeze, and
Shut the fuck up.
It's about to snow here tomorrow. After the show, I'm gonna go put together my snow blower with the tank treads and shit. Probably get to use it, hopefully.
Mikey's down there just like, I'm going to the fucking beach and shit, and we're just like, fuck you. We have
look. If Mike don't go to the beach, you can't see no girls in bikinis. Then we don't have a happy Mikey.
Right.
I'm not gonna argue with that. He earned it. He works hard for the money. So
he's
hard
been working
for the money.
straight for like 2.5 months.
He works hard for the money, so you better treat him right. That's right. We got a member here who treats us right. That's right. Rob Altus is here. Hail. I came for the Kool-Aid, stayed for the uncommon sense. Hail Mead. Well, our uncommon sense is more common sense than most people's common sense nowadays. As Script will tell you, common sense is now a superhero trait.
Yeah,
that's right.
So most of us are superheroes, thanks to him. Does that make you like a radioactive spider biting us all?
No, because you know when you exercise common sense, people ask you what you're so angry about, and I don't understand it. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just trying to point out obvious things.
Well, yeah, because you get arguing with some of these idiots, and after a little bit, you just start feeling like this.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Yeah, for real. That puts it just right.
Steven, you didn't have to do this, sir, but thank you so much. Sends in a super chat because he does this every time. We already got your hello, but he does it anyway. Hail, Tom, Jesse, Script, Mike. I did it backwards. Sorry. Mods and chat. I'll buy CW for $72. That's $71 more than it costs.
Well, you know what? Mikey started at $5, then it went up to $69.69. Now it's up to $72. It's gaining in value as we speak.
I know. You guys got to quit bidding on this shit. You're going to make it more valuable.
Yeah. We're trying to get this for under 100 beans. Just make it look good.
And then Jesse Miller, for some reason, of the Crow's Nest is a member at the Congo level. It says, join the cult. We have Kool-Aid.
We totally do.
What flavor? Is it blue Kool-Aid?
It's totally not poison flavored.
Oh my God.
What's his ass said?
What? Jim Jones did it, not me. 7 people made it out that day. Jesus Christ. They thought they were going down there to do something good and
I hate to laugh. I'm so sorry.
That guy was a freaking nut.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
People think they drank that because they wanted to. No, they put AKs on those people and made them drink that shit.
Yeah, I've seen some of the shit about it.
There should be a movie about that.
There is probably. Wild Rose and Deranged Lunatic are also members at the minimum puppy level for the last 5 and 4 months, respectively. Thank you so much for that. And thank you as well, Steven, again for that. And speaking of Deranged Lunatic, he also sent us a super sticker. Let me guess, it's poop.
Is it poop?
Is it poop?
I don't have my poop or a rose. I think that he sends the rose to represent the prolapse.
It's a pooper sticker.
All right. So we're still being tame.
Your roses smell like poo-poo. What's that song? You think your shit don't stink.
Deranged has also been a minimum effort puppy for 4 months.
That's what I said, indeed. Oddball set 1971 sends in $5 and says, Tom, I think you're from my neck of the woods. Do you remember Homestar video? Homestar doesn't ring a bell. Let me see if there's any logos online. Where did they
I remember
operate?
Homestar video. Or Homestar Hero. There's a website called with a boxer. A luchador boxer. Unless you're talking about like a video store, because I remember it.
That's what I think he means.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing anything. This is there because there's now a tour company called that. No, it's not ringing a bell offhand. Sorry about that, Oddball. But a lot of the ones where I'm from originally were like just mom and pop and grocery store shops.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Blockbuster, man, they didn't have nothing on the mom and pops.
I didn't get to see I knew of Blockbusters and I'd, been around them and stuff, like popped in to buy videos and stuff like that here and there throughout the years.
That's what they were there for, to just scoop videos.
I didn't actually get to rent from any until I went to college, because like that was when I finally got to be in a city that was big enough. And then when I was done with all that and radio and stuff, and then when I got back into video, it was a few mom and pop shots, and then I went to Movie Gallery, and the store I worked out of there was actually in a bigger city. So yeah, like I didn't get to see a lot of that kind of shit till a little later.
See, my big beef with Blockbuster, it was always that it's 4 times the size of a mom and pop video store, but it's got half the selection.
Well, yes and no. See, the thing about
that
Blockbuster
depends on the region, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I liked the one I would go to. I like the one that I would go to because they did have a fairly decent classic selection. That's probably because that Blockbuster had been there for 10, 20 years. And but no, you're right. Normally their stuff was the bulk of their stuff was newer stuff. But
the newer stores only had the current stuff, and it was the older stores that had the inventory. Because I used to work at Blockbuster for a short time, and you could order videos from Entertainment One, their other distributors, and make your own inventory list for your store. And my manager did that, and that's why ours, when I was working there, was like the most popular one. We'd always have.
So you actually had to have somebody in new movies to be the manager.
Yeah, pretty much. We had like around 300 customers like every night, and then on Fridays and Saturdays, there's like almost 1,000 to 2,000 people coming in and out. And the district leader had no idea how the heck we kept on doing that. It's like, well, we carry movies people want to see.
Let me ask you a question. When you started working there, when you just got hired, you went for your training. Did you watch that weird training video that's on YouTube where it's like that scuzzy guy in like a leisure suit Larry jacket, and he's showing up in the TV stalking that girl, and everybody thinks she's crazy?
There was something similar to that. It wasn't a leisure suit jacket. It was actually a woman stalking another woman.
Oh, was it?
Weird.
Yeah, it was about the active seller program, which is like, you've got to be on the floor and you got to look for customers and ask them what they're doing, but also you have to be mindful that they don't steal from the shelves. And it's like the creepiest.
Wow, that's nice.
It was the creepiest introduction video. Yeah,
that's awesome.
You'd be surprised how people try to get all shifty and steal shit from video stores, though. And they would.
The boxes are empty.
And they would steal some of the
retail
shit.
Stuff, actually.
Well, actually, the ones that we had, if we were Movie Gallery and stuff, they weren't empty. Like they actually had the slider locks, but people were smart enough to get them out. And then
you just have to push on them.
Well, it's not that hard. You just break the case or whatever, regardless.
Oh no, the slider locks have 2 magnetic hooks on them, and then you push them on either side. It just comes out easy, just like a pen out of a pocket protector. You don't need much to do it.
No, people would break them right in the fucking store and steal the disc.
Yeah, the lazy ones would.
One good boot in there.
That was because as soon as they would figure out that the camera systems were just fake. They're fake fucking cameras.
Oh, really?
Oh, in your stores, I guess. In ours, they were all real. Like, because you could record off of them.
I like.
The funny thing was the mom and pop one was real, but now the Movie Gallery one, it was all fucking fake camera.
I loved Blockbuster because it was always like a dating. It was like whatever chick we were swinging by there, picking up her overnight bag, and then we're going to my place, and it was good nights always started at Blockbuster for Mexican Iron Man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because in the era that was like later on in teens when they started popping up too.
Well, and even if we had cameras there, it didn't matter because most people were smart enough to like go in an area where the cameras wouldn't be anyway and do that shit. But
oh my god, when I was a kid, my friend Sean, he got a job down at the local grocery store, and we're in there one day. And he goes, "You want to see something funny? We're in the stationery aisle." He takes a notebook, and he goes, and he's like, and he just shoves it into his pocket, and he keeps walking. I'm like, "Dude, you're fucking crazy." He's like, "There's no cameras in this aisle." I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, that still ain't worth what the consequences could be.
No, it ain't. It was. I thought he was insane.
Kenneth LaRock sent us a $3 super sticker here. I can't see what it is here. Let me see if I can bring up the. I should bring up this thing so I can see what
It's
they are.
a pair giving us a thumbs up.
Well, thank you. I wish it was a pair of boobs though. That'd be nice.
That'd get us demonetized.
Yeah, it's worth it. All right. Then we've got, let's see here. I think Spider Unlimited says Jesse is correct. Tom, come down to South Carolina. Yeah. I want to go where it's dry though, like Nevada. Jack of all casuals says sick last few days. Better now. How you guys doing? Well, glad you're doing better, Jack of all casuals. We're doing okay, I think, for the most part. You guys doing okay?
Yeah. I mean, it's cold, but otherwise, yeah, great.
See, it's going up again. Jack of all casuals says I'll buy CW for $350.
$350?
What?
You just gave that Loch Ness Monster $350. No wonder he won't go away, woman.
Now $350, like $3.50. You're saying?
Yeah,
right?
I know. Shotgun Fringe says,
underbid.
"Hail Midnight's Edge." Tom, you're thinking of Roses by Outcast. You guys are also thinking of Homestar Runner and Strong Bad.
That's right. Also, thanks to Gaza Wim who pointed that out as well.
See, y'all are smart. You're SMRT
nerds.
We got smart people here.
Do you have that clip?
What?
Actually, if you want to be
the nerds clip, no.
You have Ogre saying nerds?
No, I might somewhere. Because I remember, well, I had a meme of it that I used a long fucking time ago for the Star Trek Discovery picture.
I used the Homer Simpson one.
So I have that picture probably, but yeah.
Nerds.
Oh, Lord. Let's get into this business. You know what? Let's start with the this
Lowell Cow #1 coming to the stage.
Yeah. So evidently, according to Eternals News, Marvel Studios has started campaigning Eternals in all categories for the Oscars.
What? Wait, what?
Huh? Can we just start calling them the Internals and being done with it?
That's the porn parody that's going to be much better.
Yeah, like I suggested to one of my friends, I think it was Fed, was trying to find a parody name for the Orville, and I was like, dude, the Horville, and then they couldn't take it. It was too close. True story.
Oh, so I also heard, actually, I did hear something to confirm this. Somebody told me this, plus they also told me that they got a campaign out there for ScarJo for Black Widow.
For most disappointing movie that could have been awesome?
For best booty in a
being
motion
shown
picture.
Up by your co-star.
For smacking your face into the desk.
Okay.
God, that was a dumb scene. Salty Texas C in the house. Says at that's as close as I can get to boobs for Thirsty Tom. Well, Thirsty Tom. Well, thank you. Cheers. And he gave me a drink while you're at it. F the Internals. In Eternals.
Well, if there's going to be a porn movie and we need a volunteer, I call dibs on Salma Hayek and Sid Mexican Iron Man in.
You jerk. Goddess of Whim says, I see Eternal sweeping the Razzie Awards. Indeed. But as Montolbin, as you see here, points out, and you know that they're probably going to win going by the current state of the Oscars. And of course, I had a perfect meme for that. It is a Marvel meme after all. Well, you're not wrong.
Oh, yeah. I think it checks every box, doesn't it?
It does. It checks every single last fucking box they need.
It might be the only one qualifying then. Like it
You
wins
got a point
it's
there.
the only one nominated.
That'll sweep the actor category in the supporting actor category.
I'm just shocked that they still have the best male and best female actor, leading actor, and supporting actor, because that's basically a gender assumption.
They'll end up mixing them together and or bringing a they/them category.
Oh, but then you have to split it up to all the other gender pronoun categories. So like,
don't matter. Men will win it every time.
I'll just make the Oscars like,
it'll be just like every other sport. You put men in, and you allow men who are saying they're women to compete. They're just gonna kick their ass. Come on.
You kidding? If Charlton Heston were alive today, he'd be winning Best Female Lead Actress every year.
I'm wearing a dress. See my boobs. It's an honor and a privilege. He'd win. What about Marlon? I could play that. I can play anything. I could
play a bagel.
I could play a bagel as Cleopatra. I can do it. Mecha J says Oscars so woke. Yeah, no shit. That should have been a replacement for their Oscars so white campaign.
I don't think anyone's gonna be watching this year.
I think man. Who they got hosting? I forget his name.
Twinkie, Hostess Twinkie. I don't know.
Hostess Twinkies.
Actually, I should be careful saying that.
Oh yeah, huh? It's true.
Who did they have last year? I forgot now.
Some jerk.
I don't think they had a host. They just had a bunch of people coming in, right?
No, it was the year before.
It was just a Zoom call.
Because I think that was the year before. Because that's the year I suggested they had just had the Avengers present the awards.
Right. It was D.L. Hughley was kicked out, right? He was the one.
No. You're thinking of Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Sorry.
Oh, him I actually like.
Well, yeah, everybody was like, he's all right. I don't really care for him all that much, but I'm like, yeah.
No, he's good.
I should host because if I don't like the person, second they come up to get the award, I'll throw it down.
Ricky Gervais didn't do it last year, did he?
No, he was Golden Globes.
No, he's Golden Globes.
He's always Golden
Globes.
Globes.
Do anything again.
He should do the Oscars, but they wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
Good God, no, that's never happening. I
Savage.
wish it would.
They'd fire him before the second half.
You kidding? They'd fire him in the middle of his opening speech.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I remember like 10 years ago when they had Ellen on.
Oh, yeah.
That aged well.
Person. Yep.
I think David Letterman probably had one of the better runs.
You know, he got the fucking shaft, and that was one of the better shows. It's like, he ain't Oprah and he ain't, Billy, but it's pretty funny. He's just doing his Dave thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a normal guy. Likes the ladies.
Say what you will about Oprah not being funny. We still talk about it to this day.
Yeah.
They can't all be winners.
Oprah? Uma? Oprah.
One of my favorite David Letterman bits was, how he used to throw the cards behind him?
Oh, those were great.
Crash.
Yeah, he had the setup of the city behind him. At one point, he threw the card behind him, and he says, "You ever wonder where they go?" And then it just showed a guy on the street in New York City with this giant blue card slashing him in half, and he's like...
I loved whenever he would prank Richard Simmons.
Oh, God.
Fuck yes, he would torment the hell out of that man.
Like he did the Barbra Streisand doll, like he set that on fire or something, and then one of Richard Simmons' like juicers, he made that set on fire.
He made it so he didn't want to come out once.
I was gonna say, I guess that got pretty bad to a point where
he was afraid.
You know what the fuck he was gonna do to him. But I'm sure he paid him pretty good. Nikki D says, who would be the most politically incorrect host for the Oscars? Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle would be pretty
James Woods.
Oh, Dave Chappelle would get worse shit.
Oh my God, I got a way better one for you. Donald Trump.
Oh fuck.
He could do it.
And Mexican Iron Man wins the bonus round tonight. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, you know what? No, it'd be fucked up though if Trump was the host. The ratings would be crazy.
Oh, people would watch it.
Oh, they would, just to see. Yeah.
This is only a good host. This is only a good show because I'm here. All the nominees stink.
If this was a real award show, I'd win.
It's like, you would never watch this.
I can tell you.
Show up.
I can tell you which would be the host that would make the show would take the longest would be Joe Biden. Can you imagine him trying to read them?
Oh my God!
Come on,
No,
man.
that'd be kind of painful too.
They'd have to have an hour and a half intermission to change his fucking britches after he shits his pants.
I remember going to the movie house all the time when I was a kid. We went to the house cost a dime.
Yeah, then he'll start
you
talking
can get popcorn
about,
for a nickel.
He'll start saying things I won't even say on this channel.
Well, just Donald Trump
John
saying
Wayne.
like, nobody saw any of the movies nominated. Eternals nominated for anything, no one saw it.
Actually, you know, he would say, even though it'd be like one of his normal things he would say, but it would actually be true. It'd be like, none of these movies would exist if it wasn't for me.
Except for maybe No Way Home.
Except for maybe No Way Home, which is
nominated.
Which is a crime. Took place in New York. No Trump Tower.
Also a crime.
Not New York without it. Oh shit! If I hosted the Oscars, it would be 40 minutes long, and I would give away cars.
It would be 40 minutes long and give away cars. Yeah.
No. Problem is, these motherfuckers can afford a car already. Most of them. The only ones who really benefit from the Oscars are the up and comers who are just making their names. Like that's the only ones who really benefit, right? Like the
to
people
a degree, yeah,
the smaller directors and actors and writers and stuff that we don't know their names yet, right? Like that's
it's essentially winning collateral for a line of credit to produce something. That's what
most of the other ones are just like gimme Oscars, basically. So
it's all how popular are you with the club this year?
To a degree. I mean, the only ones that I would argue are legitimate are like for editing and special effects and makeup. Right. Costumes you can actually throw out the window because if there's a period piece going that year, it automatically wins for best costume.
Well,
especially if it's Victorian era.
I gotta say this: no matter how bad the movie is these days, the people who do the background work are always great.
Yeah. Well,
and the people who build the sets and make the clothes, they are so fucking good still.
No offense, Strip, because I know you didn't work on the makeup anyway, but I started questioning the makeup awards when Suicide Squad won.
Me too.
Dude, they turned Sylvester Stallone into a shark. Are you kidding me?
No.
That was all practical effects.
This is the Suicide. This is Suicide Squad from 2015.
Oh, that movie sucked balls.
Which had the worst Killer Croc makeup I had ever seen.
The whole Killer Croc was wrong. Period.
That was not Killer Croc.
Why is he so short?
That was a crocodile-skinned man.
Barely.
I don't know.
Dark King says Alex Jones to host the Oscars. He'd be great. If you don't get it done with your damn speech, I'm going to eat your ass. Get on the stage, get the fuck off, or I'll eat it. I'll eat your neighbor's ass too.
And that's
Hollywood, you're all turned to frogs gay.
That's right. And then Too Much says win an Oscar and then write Wonder Woman 84. Of course, you said she didn't have as much to do with the writing as most
she
people
did.
say.
Again, a story by credit just means I came up with the idea and I want to do these types of scenes. And then you hire a writer like myself for an assignment job and be like, okay, here are the scenes I want to do. Make it happen. And then if you're good, you make it work and you make it entertaining. And if you're lazy, you're Dave Callahan.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I think I should. After they promoted all this Latinx crap, I think I should have my own category, like most amount of Mexican in an iron suit with the sombrero. The nominees are.
You guys would only win craft services.
Exactly.
That's the only one they'd give you.
Yeah,
and maybe best grip.
Or wait.
Set decoration. They would win set decoration.
And we would get fastest setup of 2x4s in a landscaping.
The gay guys would dominate that.
Oh, maybe you're right.
If you got a gay Latino, though, then there you go. That's a shoo-in.
Maybe.
Look, a gay Latino is the only person you should ever let cut your hair.
This is true. If they're not older than 50, yeah, this is true.
Well, then they were in a Doritos ad.
Well, I don't have any hair anymore, so. When barbers used to be actually barbers.
Yeah, but you got that beard. That beard,
when they actually used to have a differentiation, when men actually didn't go to the fucking beauty salon.
Yep.
There was actually a thing called the barber where men went and got their hair cut and shaved and did man shit.
I still see those around. They're called barbers.
I go to
Where?
sports clips.
Yeah, it's in some cities.
I go to sport clips. There are always chicks there, and I get to watch sports while I get my hair cut. Usually NASCAR.
Okay. I'm not saying I don't like it when some chick's got her tits in my face or whatever, but I don't have hair anymore, so.
I ain't gonna lie. When I go get my hair cut, I usually fall asleep, and when I wake up, I look different.
I do the VIP package where I get the shampoo and the gentle massage of soothing comfort. It's awesome.
You know, Chef, here's the thing. The Oscars never give away any real awards, or at least awards that I would consider worth a shit. And that's why it's so hard for me to personally take them as seriously as most people used to. And that's just because, look, most of the decent awards are given away outside of the show. Those are the people who actually make the movies what they are. A lot of the awards that actually should go to people who actually work hard, like stunt people, don't get awards.
That's true, yeah.
That's a good
shit
point.
like that. And a lot of the other awards just kind of get ignored and overlooked.
And it's hard to do craft services because, unfortunately, you don't get to really see that on the screen in the same way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of a ha-ha joke. But no, I do agree, like, there should be something, though. Like, those are the people that are actually doing shit, right? I'm sorry if I don't think I should sit there and just clap and hoot and holler over an actor who got to sit on his ass in a fucking trailer waiting for somebody to call him on set.
It would be mad funny if they had all the actors and all the people who are on the cast and crew vote for best run film.
Oh, that would never happen.
I know
Could
who
you
should
imagine
host it?
the shit
Oh my
that
God.
would start?
I know who should host this thing. Ready?
Yep.
Alec Baldwin.
Oh, Doc.
No, I don't think that would fly, but that's not a bad idea. People would watch just to see what he'd say.
Yep.
Action Com says, remember that the Academy Awards stunt where Kimmel, Godot, and Robbie went over to the Chinese theater and threw snacks that they wouldn't dare eat themselves. Here, peasants. What do you think of that stunt?
Oh, I remember that. That was, jeez, yeah. That was pretty desperate.
Mecca J says the Grammys just announced they were postponed indefinitely due to the virus. You think indefinitely?
No, who watches the Grammys anymore?
I mean, due to the virus.
Simpsons, like
Bullshit.
30 years ago.
Well, first off, people would have to keep making music. I mean, besides like,
There's like three
Napalm
people
Records
that
and
do that.
Norway, there's no more bands.
Yeah, how can you actually give awards to stuff that's nothing but sampled old music?
Just give all those.
Oh my God! You know what the four of us should do? We're like perfect. We need to have our own boy band.
You're all I ever wanted.
I'll play the ukulele.
Which Backstreet Boy is gay?
All of
They
them.
all lie.
Trick question.
I don't want Jesse to touch me that way.
You're about to learn a secret.
If you get paid, it's not gay.
Jesse, don't touch me that way.
That's not true.
Okay, we joked around about this one long enough. Let's get into this real quick. CW is up for sale.
No.
Is anybody really surprised at this?
No.
I am.
When you have Greg Berlanti running most of their shows, yeah, it's bound to be losing value.
What's funny is he's one of the names that we heard was bounced around for.
Why does Archie look like he's 45?
Oh, the actor's like 31.
Okay, well, anyway, basically the gist of is that they're looking to sell. I'm not surprised. A lot of people think this has to do with how bad the channel may be doing with the wokeness and all that stuff. Look, I'm sure Script agrees with me on this. This has less to do with that shit than it has more to do with HBO Max and Paramount needing money. HBO Max doesn't. This is just competing with their own shit. Why would they produce stuff for a network that's just basically costing them money when they can just throw it on HBO Max and promote it there? Paramount on the other side, they need some fucking cash.
Pretty much. I mean, I think the streaming services on both production companies, both studios, actually cause a conflict with this. They're not getting the ad revenue, nor are they getting the eyes on that network anyways. So they might as well sell it off and then use that money to invest in their own streaming services. And yeah, I'm actually kind of all for that because the CW has been terrible for like 15, 16 years.
I just hope this guy's name is pronounced Podowitz.
No, it isn't.
The fuck?
God damn it, Jesse.
So you're about to go work for CNN?
Wow. 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 Wow.
God damn it. All right.
We'll abbreviate to P-Wits.
Yeah,
right.
We'll call him Mark.
Don't let him
we're not
apply
even
for
gonna
that
talk
job
about
at
Mark.
Nickelodeon, whatever
Mark,
you do.
Mark is Fugazi. Mark doesn't fucking matter anyway. The problem here is this is basically that. Like this is some history on where this whole thing started. Okay, first there was two networks, one called UPN and one called WB. UPN was the United Paramount Network.
Yep.
And then a WB, well, if you can't figure that one out, then I don't know what else to tell you. They merged. When was it?
For the Wayne's Brothers channel.
2004 or 5.
I was going to say 5. Somewhere in that region, they merged and became the CW, with, I think, Warner Brothers having controlling stake, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, like the CW essentially was like CBS, Warner Brothers. That's why they chose the
they had a lot more networks. They were much bigger. UPN was dead.
They were also connected to a lot more. They had better relationships with all the affiliates throughout North America as well. So, yeah.
Which did you get, WB or UPN?
WB had better affiliates.
Oh,
the UPN's flagship show was Star Trek Voyager.
That's right.
And it was struggling for its entire run, actually. And once Voyager ended, I think that's when.
I was going to say, wasn't it right after when Enterprise ended? That's when CW was formed.
Yeah, so that'd be 2006-ish. Because UPN was struggling. Enterprise wasn't put on exclusively on UPN. It was thrown back onto CBS. And and then it just kind of struggled.
Wow, so Voyager was really their last strong show, huh?
It was their their flagship show for the entire run of its existence. Yeah.
WB, on the other hand, had some pretty big hits. They had Buffy and a few other things.
Yeah.
What was that show they had?
I remember Buffy
Sister, I think. And what else did they have?
They had Angel.
Angel,
what was Buffy on for like almost a dozen years?
That's what I said. Yeah, Buffy was their biggest hit, probably.
Buffy was one of their biggest hits. Years. They had a lot of the teen dramas. They had Dawson's Creek.
Yep, Dawson's.
Their animation wing was on the same exact channel. So like you had Kids WB and WB. They were the same numerical channel you press. The morning run was huge with kids because it was all Warner Brothers animation.
That's right. Yeah.
Which basically paid for everything because their evening hours and primetime hours were kind of like low in comparison.
Yeah, that's when you had Freakazoid and Darkwing Duck.
Freakazoid, Animaniacs, Darkwing Duck.
There was another one in there that was really popular.
They did Superman the Animated Series was one of the launching cartoons for Kids WB.
Yeah.
Then they did Justice League Unlimited.
Didn't they move Batman animated over there, and that's what started calling it Batman and Robin or whatever?
Well, they had.
You're right. I forgot about that.
Batman the Animated Series technically came back for a revival season under Warner Brothers.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah, something
because
like that.
Fox owns.
I totally
Fox
forgot
has
that
the
they
exclusive
moved
rights
off
for
of
the
Fox.
first 3 seasons. Then Warner Brothers has the exclusive rights for the 4th, which is why the animated box set took a while to get out. Initially, they had to reconcile that. Kind of similar to the old Adam West thing with
not as complicated,
and CBS.
Fox.
But yeah, then they also had a pairing air contract with Cartoon Network, and so yeah, lots of stuff going on there. They were really doing really well, and then they just decided to absorb UPN. Like 15 years ago or so. They also Smallville is one of the flagship shows.
That's right. I forgot about Smallville. Yeah.
Smallville came out in 2001-ish, I think, 2001, 2002.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Christian saying Batman Beyond.
Script, I have a question though. Let's say you're representing CW and I'm coming to you with the deal. Let's just say we take all of tonight's super chats, all whatever we make, all 100, 200, whatever the heck we make tonight, and I'm making the deal to you to buy the CW. Do I get?
You think we make that much? You're lucky.
Well, I don't know what. I'm just making stuff up. Okay, whatever. 47.50. Okay, but
that's probably closer.
Okay. So let's just say, script. let's say I buy this thing, how do I know what shows or properties I'm getting, or am I just getting a network and I gotta, am I getting advertisers? What am I getting here for this deal?
You're getting the network and the advertising contracts, and you'd probably also get the licensing deals for the shows being produced. I'm pretty sure that's the package that you would get, because all those other shows, they're co-financed by their origin studios. So Warner Brothers being one of them, plus all their affiliates and subsidiaries. So you just have the contracts to broadcast those and retain the advertising rights, but you'd also be paying those studios money to show those shows.
Yeah.
Now, script, can I get rid of Archie and keep Veronica?
It doesn't work like that.
Well, not necessarily. Yes. You could actually make a propositions like, I'm not going to renew a Riverdale if you keep Archie in there. I don't want him. And they can.
Doesn't he look like he totally doesn't fit?
All three of them.
His eyebrows are black. First off,
you're first of all questioning.
He's a ginger with black eyebrows.
The whole thing shouldn't be in existence.
Yeah.
Period.
They did a show about the 90s, and all it was floated with was 1980s references. Like, you don't even know what decade you're talking about.
Yep.
Oh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves with a lot of movies and TV shows.
Do you guys remember when The Punisher and Archie had a crossover comic?
Yes.
It was excellent. You got to see The Punisher in a Riverdale sweater.
Jack of All Casuals named our hair band. He says it's the Back Hair Boys. We all wish we had our hair back, except for I'm the only one who doesn't have any hair.
Yeah,
like,
but
even on the back?
If we're the Back Hair Boys, we got to get like prosthetic back hair mohawks.
I mean, I could do that.
It'd be like a Stegosaurus hair spine.
Yeah,
I could do
that.
Then Diego says he'll be our manager and producer and promoter and head of roadies. Sure, all right.
Okay.
We pay you his one job though. Hillis Mallory says the
last. Remember, first and last out.
First, he says Hillis Mallory says the last good show CW had was Veronica Mars. Oh yeah, that was another one of their hits. Didn't they also have was it Gossip Girl or some shit like that? And
they had a couple of the remakes of some of those shows. Yeah,
they had a few that were. Yeah. EBA Unit 4A is in the house and says if Viacom CBS sells CW, think it will be enough to fund STD for another 4 seasons. Get woke, go broke. Without respect, we reject Midnight's Edge. First of all, I don't think that CBS has nearly as much stake in this as Warner Brothers does. And that's why I think it's being sold more so, is just because Warner doesn't need it. And a lot of these shows, if they don't have extended contracts, they're just going to get moved over to CW. Or I mean, HBO Max, I mean.
I thought the whole point of this show was
money off of it.
That's what I mean.
The whole point of this was so eventually Paramount could actually have more shows to put on their shitty streaming service.
Well, the thing is, Paramount's been dropping a lot of stuff this year on their streaming service.
No,
like,
but
a lot.
Jesse's got a point because every other week those big movies are supposed to start dropping.
It's like I've seen Beavis and Butthead and Daria already.
Yeah, one of them is supposed to be on CW and the other one's supposed to be on, or no, it was the CW and then some other network. I can't remember which.
I just assume that's what all this was about, is just to absorb more.
That's why I'm not so sure. Like Paramount, I know they need money, but like it makes no sense for them to sell, because that makes their shit worth more if they sell, Paramount, and it includes their stake in CW, as opposed to Warner. It makes more sense they'd want to dump it, because it's just they're spending money, like you said, and losing money on shit that they could just be making for HBO Max.
Yeah, but exactly. Because if you take a look at the ratings of all of the CW shows, they're lucky if they have a show that crosses 1 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is massively small. Like, they get those types of average views on HBO Max daily, any time of day.
That's my point. Yeah.
And so they're fine to dump it. Paramount, on the other hand, I think they're probably going to. I think they're selling it because whatever money they'll get, they'll be able to use to roll into Paramount Plus, because even though they're struggling financially, that could all change the moment they start dropping all of their new stuff. And given some of the projects that they've been buying over the last 2 years that are actually like outside of the what would you call it, the narrative of wokeness that are being produced, if those scripts manage to stay true to what they were when they were being circulated, and they're produced and they're dropped this year and next year, it can make Paramount very much a sleeping dragon that comes in and just kind of like really pulls away. But that's really hard for them to pull off because they still have all the other problems at their main office in the decision-making side of things that could basically just tank this potential for really great content.
I just want to know when this snake eating its tail in Hollywood ends, because it's like WB and UPM become CW. CW gets absorbed by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers gets absorbed by Paramount. Who's going to absorb Paramount? Who's going to absorb that company? Where's all this shit end? I mean, there's just going to be 3 companies, less than there used to be in the 80s.
There might
but
be.
I'll tell you,
yeah, Warner Brothers might buy Star Trek from Viacom CBS. I mean, it's the only thing of value that they have.
It's like we're gonna have to wait for Picard a little bit longer. Not that anybody's worried about that.
Yeah, he needs to stop this Picard shit and go back to American Dad.
Well, Picard's production has been paused after 50 people test positive for the vid.
Well.
Hopefully none of them were Patrick Stewart himself.
That's like a fifth of the crew.
Right? So this is just kind of off that news because, CW business. But, yeah, I guess filming on the drama Star Trek Picard has been shut down since Monday following a sizable outbreak. Sources say more than 50 members of the large production tested positive, which the crew has more than 450 staffers. So I guess that would be, what'd you say?
I thought it was I don't remember what I said, but I was like, I thought they had a crew of like 200.
Yeah, it's 1/5.
Yeah, it's more like less
1/5. Anyway, production was immediately shut down and has remained dark since. They're hoping to start up again next week. Yeah.
Look, Patrick Stewart could much better spend his time making an Avery Bullock spinoff show. All right, he could do this from his home.
Deputy Vice head of CIA.
Yes. He's awesome. He's hilarious. He could do it from home with a cup of Earl Grey hot. Okay, then he could spend the rest of the day how he sees fit.
So yeah, I don't know if this is going to affect the second season because they're filming season 2 and 3 back to back. So I don't know how far they were. But yeah. Professor Gray says you should start a GoFundMe to get CW and make good TV. I would, Professor Gray, but it's a dying industry.
You still need a studio to make something. CW is really just the distribution network.
Yeah, I mean, networks aren't worth a shit anymore. Yeah. I wouldn't even want to buy a big network right now because in 10 years it's going to be worthless.
The only thing we need is the Muppets. We could do a million things with this.
Basically, what I'm saying is you're going to have a bunch of fucking buildings out there that you bought that are going to be empty in 10 years.
Yeah, you have to convert them to apartments and rent them for cheap.
Pretty much. And you're lucky if they're big enough for that.
If all goes to plan, they'll be able to convert them into monkey habitats because we're going to need them for the cast.
For all the karate monkeys.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to need space. They're going to be fully trained in the martial arts.
Dark King says he'll be the groupie manager. I already called that job in the back. But anyway, vet them personally. Well, that is true. We need a vetter.
And then we need toothpaste.
Yeah. So
I hope the veteran toothpaste hander outer.
RRTNZ from New Zealand sends in $5. Thank you so much. Says, cheers, team. Midnight's Edge. I didn't mind Eternals, but an Oscar? What a joke. Celestials were impressive, but nothing and no one in that film merits an Oscar, in my honest opinion.
To get an Oscar, doesn't someone have to see your movie?
That's what's funny about that and Shang-Chi is they just neither one of those seem to have really very many stands out there sticking up for them, like a lot of the other Marvel films usually do.
They should give the Oscar to Harold Ramis posthumously.
I think that was played by Ivan Reitman.
Yeah, he was played by Ivan Reitman. But speaking of Marvel, DC anyway. DC comics writer Vita Ayala, who blocked me. I don't even know who this bitch is. She
Vita Ayala.
I didn't tag her nothing. Never said a fucking word to her.
What?
She blocked me.
Who is she?
She's a DC
psycho
comics writer.
DC comics writer, my balls. That kid is 12.
Anyway, she exposes her bigotry and racism and everything else. And actually, it's illegal to do this last time I checked, but says cis dudes should not apply for associate editor position at Marvel.
What's a cis dude? I'm not a sissy.
Who's this fucking kid?
Shut this fucking kid up.
I know, right? But yeah, I pointed out how illegal that is on top of everything else.
Yeah, you know, the Equal Rights Act of 1964 still means something to some people, but not to an SJW.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she blocked me too. It took a while to find her Twitter handle.
Yeah. Wait, what? What's her Twitter? Send me a link. Somebody
Definitely Vita.
Oh, so somebody that nobody knows or gives a shit about blocked you.
The only reason I know this is because somebody tagged my tweet.
That just means you're more on the radar than she is.
All right,
I don't know if they were trying to get her attention or just trying to, troll them.
Who am I looking for?
Nobody cares.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I got my Twitter open. I'm doing my search engine.
Definitely Ailila.
Definitely Vita.
Yeah.
A-L-I-T-A.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Hang on, I'll try and find it.
Who are you?
It's your name. Wait, what? Hold on. Let me go back.
Because like I said, somebody tagged my original response to the story because I didn't tag her.
All right, let me find you on Twitter. Is that what I got to do?
But then somebody tagged me in my original response. I know, I got to find it too.
I'm so glad that I'm permanently done.
This is why I don't Twitter well, kids. It's just too much for me to deal with.
Yeah, like how do people find this shit after it happens?
I don't know.
Okay, where is it here?
Eternals.
Let's see here. It should be in my retweets.
Oh, it is illegal to discriminate against someone because of that person's race. That one?
Yeah, see now somebody went and retweeted Vita in that. Okay, here's
Vita Ayala, founder.
Okay. Yeah, I'm already blocked. I don't even know who this fucking person was.
I don't think I'm blocked. Let me see here.
Well, you're Mexican. That would look bad.
Hey, these weirdos don't care, bro.
What is a twatter?
I got accused.
People are twats.
I got accused of being a simp account for Geeks and Gamers. That someone thought I was like a white dude.
Gerald Armstrong says Tim Pool got swatted on his live streams. Whoa!
Wait, like SWAT team actually showed up?
Really?
Or did he get swatted by like a hand?
I'm assuming it's fan, but that's fucked.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Oh shit. Well, I can't believe they actually would do that because I would think most bigger YouTubers like that would at least be kind of known to the police to where if something like that happened.
A long time ago, I went to the police and I told them people get swatted, and in case you ever get a call here,
I'm blocked. First. She doesn't even know me. How am I blocked?
You must be, and there must be a blockchain.
I don't even know this person.
I don't either until today.
The swatting bullshit started back in, around this neck of the woods. It started around the Comicsgate that happened.
Hillis Mallory does point out, the obvious, though, and that is just remember, only twits use Twitter. But anyway, I hope Tim is okay.
Wait, what happened to Tim?
They got swatted, and sometimes that can result in some bad ending. It's where somebody calls in a false report that there's usually some kind of hostage situation that is hostile, meaning somebody has a gun or something like that.
Oh my God, no way.
And so the SWAT team will come busted in your house or your whatever. And because that's the funny, because was he streaming from home or from his studio? Because I thought he had a studio thing.
He does.
Yeah.
And what's more is that the only people who are supposedly know where it's at are people that have been on the show.
Right. Well, it's still probably easy enough to find, but still.
That's not
swatted. When you get swatted, usually they say, I heard gunshots at my neighbor's house. I think he killed his girlfriend or something.
They'll do something stupid like that. Yeah. To basically treat it as a hostile situation where.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because they really came to a head when that one kid did it, 2 years ago?
There was a kid that got killed.
Yeah.
Got murdered over some stupidity.
Deleted scene says, blocked me too. Never heard of her before yesterday, but following Evie up. Yep. That's probably why. That's why I say blockchain depends on who you follow. That'll do the trick. Exactly, Stephen. Yep. Indeed. Yeah, and that's the thing I was thinking too, Mr. Burns. Well, hopefully he's okay.
Dude, I love Mr. Burns.
Okay, he's live. All right. Okay, so he's all right. All right. Well, that's good to know.
I don't interview the cops.
Yeah, right.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any love or hate for Tim Pool. I really he's just kind of there for me. So like, it's not anything personal. I just
he's on the right team. He's just had that red pill caught in his throat.
No, I'm just one of those. I don't
years.
really watch a lot of his stuff, so it's not like I really.
See, if something happened to Crowder, I'd raise hell.
I wouldn't go that far, Cody guy. I'm not even going to put that on screen, but yeah. But let's move on from our last story, since that was just depressing as fuck, and who cares about DC anyway?
Yep.
Because we don't care about their politics and we don't buy their books.
Nope.
There might be a couple Beatles fans in the house. For those who were fans of the Get Back concert, there's going to be a limited theatrical release in IMAX on January 30th. And also, well, I don't have the full version of the story here. They also hinted at a home video release. So those looking forward to a possible home video release, there you go, because I know some people were curious about that.
That'd be cool if you had a little Lucy in the sky with some diamonds.
It might. Here's some other big news. Beavis and Butthead are all grown up.
They're having an adult Beavis and Butthead?
Oh, you didn't see this yet? Oh, so this is news to you. All right.
Yes.
Creator of the 90s icon Beavis and Butthead, Mike Judge, posted today on Twitter, Beavis and Butthead will be returning this year with a brand new movie and more on Paramount Plus. No exact date yet, but soon. They need some time to get back in shape. As you can see here, I'll blow this up, hopefully.
It kind of looked like their parents.
I don't know if I can make it bigger than that. Here, let me try. Oh, there it goes.
Go to the actual tweet.
I tried, yeah. But there you go. If you guys can see it.
Yeah.
There you go. Beavis and Butthead. All grown up.
All grown up.
And they still haven't scored.
Oh, scored.
Is Beavis missing teeth, or is that just funny looking?
Yeah, I haven't.
It looks like he's missing some teeth, yeah.
Butthead looks great, honestly. He's
like me almost.
He looks awesome.
I've scored a couple of times.
I like it. I like it.
How old are they supposed to be? Beavis looks ancient.
I think they're supposed to be around our age.
Why is he?
They should be at
60?
least in their like late 40s, because they're like teenagers in early 90s, right? Like
Beavis looks like an old man though.
Trying to remember how much I can't remember Mike Judge ever said they were 12 or 14.
No, they're in high school because they go to Highland High School, right? So
true.
that's
so they at least be a fresh, yeah.
Yeah, they at least be like 14 or 15.
14 then, yeah, okay.
14 plus like 35 years.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, they were still in the same class when the show ended, so I guess it depends on how you want to do the math.
Yo, Rudy says looks like King of the Hill. Yeah, no shit. He does look like Dale Gribble, don't he?
Yeah, but they'll probably make him about 45.
45, yeah, like mid to late 40s.
That's kind of cool, though. So yeah, there is that. So those
I bet they're going to be in the same house on the same couch.
I thought we'd take forever to get through these stories. That's why I was kind of bum rushing through them. But like,
what could they possibly have Beavis and Butthead doing now? Are they going to just have the same jobs at Burger World?
Probably.
You know what the funny part is?
House.
They'll have the same job and they still aren't promoted. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
They're still going to be bothering everybody.
And you know what's his face will be their boss.
Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because he's the only one who could ever work with them, and he's more responsible than them.
With his fucking winger shirt.
Oh, I can't wait for that. But you know what? I'm glad because we got some time to discuss this, because this came across my desk. Ironcaster sent me this, and I'm thankful for that, especially if they're in the chat. Thank you, Ironcaster. Because this is a great fucking article. Because, often we get accused of gatekeeping, right? Like that's a constant thing, especially in our business. He wrote an article here that is Ali Barter of Forbes. Says he covers gaming in Japan as well as pop culture here. The title of this Forbes article is Fans Aren't Gatekeeping Anything. They're just wary of would-be dictators trying to take over their hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt this was a very well put together piece that pretty much covers a lot of the things that we have said over the years. One of the strangest phenomena that keeps on popping up these days is the inaccurate accusation that fans are somehow gatekeeping their hobbies. Firstly, This is actually impossible to do. And secondly, there's more going on here than first appears. According to Merriam-Webster, the gatekeeper is either someone who tends or guards a gate or a person who controls access to something. The accusation in this instance obviously applies to the latter. Regardless, fans are incapable of controlling access to their hobbies. Before I get to that, here's a bit of fandom history lesson. Picking a specific example in case of anime. Back in the day, many anime were not available outside of Japan. This meant that if you wanted to watch something like the vision of Escaflowne, thank you, you joined an anime club, attended its meetings, acquired fan-subbed versions of the anime on VHS tape. This meant people in charge of said anime club could actually gatekeep when it came to fans' access to anime. In decades since, anime such as Escaflowne are now widely available on Blu-ray and also various streaming services, not only in Japan, but also internationally as well. Put simply, if you're a current anime fan, there is no one gatekeeping you from acquiring various anime works and enjoying them as a hobby. You don't need to befriend the higher-ups in an anime club. You can just buy it and watch it whenever and wherever you want. The same goes for model kit building, video games, and pretty much all the hobbies out there. Unless there is someone physically limiting access to the host media, gatekeeping is not taking place. You hear that, George Lucas? Sorry. So why are certain people claiming that fans are gatekeeping their hobbies? Well, this is a bit more involved, and it's not so much about the hobbies in question, but more about the controlling various fandoms. Going back to my anime example, when I originally got into anime all those decades ago, the size of the international fandom was relatively small. These days, though, anime is a global pop culture phenomenon. This means there are a lot of anime fans out there, and the fandom itself is consequently influential in an industry and cultural sense. I would go on to say that anime has finally become like a lifestyle brand almost. So the accusations of gatekeeping are being used to leverage access to effectively run each fandom and acquire power as a result. That right there is it. This is why there is a great deal of pushback from fans on this. Not because they want to stop people from watching anime or enjoying other hobbies, but to make sure these hobbies remain open to all and not descend into some kind of dictatorship. The reality is the fans love having people they can talk to in depth about their hobby. This kind of involved and almost studied discussion of hobby is actually what keeps various fandoms ticking along. This means it's not in the interest of fans to limit access to what they care about. And if people are genuinely curious about a hobby, the fans almost always tend to offer their help and insight. However, when you see someone online or even in the real world accuse a fan of gatekeeping, it is more likely that said accuser is not interested in that hobby at all and is actually a power-hungry would-be dictator who wants to rule said fandom with an iron fist. Thank you, Ollie, for saying what we have been saying for the last few years and putting it in such a eloquent article here. I applaud you, sir. Thank you for this. I think this is a great article. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Let's start with you, Mike. I know you were a huge fan of a lot of different things. What do you think?
I think this is fantastic that it's in Forbes, too. I mean, the angle I want to take on this is that you sent me the link beforehand, and I actually read through it real quickly at the beginning of the show. And I think that it's awesome that it's someone from Forbes in particular, because that is a message to the readership of Forbes are money people, whether it be entertainment or others. And I think this is an important message to get out there, because although we have been saying and feeling this for a long time on YouTube, we have been saying this in our little fandoms, wherever they're at, wherever we find ourselves, whether it's Reddit or Facebook groups or whatnot. It's important that this message and this understanding and this clarity gets out there. Bravo to the writer. Bravo to Forbes to letting it put out and to letting this article get out. I think it could have been much better. I think it could have been much more expansive, better written, more comprehensive, and more informative. But hey, sometimes with some of these things, you just got to get a message out, and I'm happy this message got out.
I think it gets the point across well enough, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
And I put this right up against the Cobra Kai article that was it Hayden Schlossberg wrote. Yeah, and then Goddess Wim says, I am the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper? You know, it's funny. I know you're joking, Goddess Wim, but I always say this. We're not gatekeepers. We're keymasters. We'll show you the way into the fandom. And that's what this article is saying, is true fans will invite others in, but they definitely are leery of people that will try to control the fandom.
And
so
fandoms,
Jesse,
I'm sorry, well, last point I'll make is that, and then I'll hand it to Jesse. And the fandoms are the key thing that brings us all together. As I said on Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and other streams that I went on. I mean, you take a fandom like He-Man. That was something where there was, as a kid, I had racial insecurity. I was in an all-white area. We moved to a new area. I was very insecure, and it was a common love of He-Man from this kid Eddie, who until then I was afraid of him and thought he was like the local school bully. That brought us together by the palm tree every day after school, and that fandom that we had in common brought us together.
Awesome. And then I'm going to grab this here. EVA Unit says Clownfish TV released a video on this article too. Oh, good. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I did see them doing their celebration earlier, so congratulations to them. But Jesse, so what is this article? What did you think of the article, I should say?
I think he's spot on the money, and he did it in very concise fashion, but he almost made it like a preliminary course to start planting those freedom seeds so it sprout in people's minds, you know what I mean? People who are fans of something, it's out of a positive feeling for something. You're not a fan of hating something, you're a fan of loving something, right? So you're going to gravitate towards people who have that same thing. That's why people say gatekeeping. No, it's just a bunch of people who understand something, right? Any truth, any fact, I should say, because, terms. But like any fact that somebody understands, right? If somebody comes in contrary to that and they don't understand, but then they want to change it to make it better for them so that it could be their thing, then you get the dictator. And that's all we've gotten. But every little thing like this, it's just another chip away at the narrative. And lately, the narrative has been falling apart. It's crumbling from within. It's crumbling from without. Everybody needs to stay salty, arm the meme cannons, and go to war. On the internet.
All right, script. I'm curious to hear what you think of this one.
I think it's a very succinct article, and it's a good introduction to point out the distinction between fans and those that are willing to corrupt it through manipulation and guilt. I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, with like true fans, what they'll usually do is, if they see they'll like put things together and come to a revelation about, oh, this is a good direction that this fandom could go to, or that this franchise could explore, possibly, what have you. And then, but like the people that he would describe as dictators say, well, I don't like the fact that this happens, so we need to change that. And those are very distinct approaches to any type of fandom. One comes from the foundation of the fandom itself, of the property that people love and have discovered through constant discussion and research, and the other is basically just a superficial aspect of it, saying it doesn't conform to what I want it to be, therefore it's bad and has to be changed. And I liked that Ollie here has pretty much drawn a line in the sand of distinction between what is a fan and what is essentially a hater.
Exactly. I agree with that. And
he had the spine to do it.
Yeah. Mohammed said is asking for the link. There you go, my friend. I'll throw that in the chat for you. Oh, we got a bot. Did somebody nail it? I'm sure they did. Oh, I got it.
It's funny. Sometimes I could see those and sometimes I can't. Say they're deleted.
Well, yeah, if somebody gets it already ahead of you. Ben Wade, the nice gunslinger, is here, and thank you for being a member, says, this article brings up a very good question. How do people like the one who blocked you all at DC get their jobs? How do they get control?
Well, first step, they're a U.S. citizen, or at least have U.S. Visa to work. That's one. And then that's all I know afterwards.
Then they get brought in by a political ideologist. And that's what's primary over everything.
They probably were met some sort of need. They probably met them at some sort of charity function, like some of the higher ups, and they probably said, "Oh, I do this and this, and I believe in this type of cause and whatnot." And it's usually based on a false concept of merit, where it's like, "Oh, this person, he or she or they are got their fingers on the pulse of society. They know what's going up. They could probably be ahead of the curve when it comes to trends, and we can just be on the ground floor. So we'll bring them in, and we'll have them take those concepts and then integrate them into our property so that we can make money." failing to realize it is the oldest con in the book of just being like, yeah, I know what's going on in the real world.
And it takes a trigger person. A trigger person is probably someone who's white, odds are female, and woke as F, and probably racist, and thinks that by making these ridiculously stupid, insulting diversity hires, that somehow shields them and makes them look good, and a fake PR media that makes them feel this fake guilt that they don't actually really feel.
I just want to say that people are not born this way. People are groomed into being this way.
Yep.
Ria Lavi brings up a very interesting question or point here. Says, the fact that this article was approved for publishing is saying a lot. Perhaps the tide is turning. What do you guys think of this? Because now Forbes has been one of those that's a little bit ahead of the game, but Forbes is also not a paper for entertainment news. Forbes is a business newspaper normally, or a lifestyle paper.
Honestly, everything in this world happens for a reason. I'm firmly convinced of this. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in a lot of hippy-dippy bullshit. But I do believe that everything happens for a reason. Now, politically speaking, you had Donald Trump. Then you had a kind of, let's say, honk election. And now you have Biden, everything in the economy shit the bed. Everybody in the country is kind of waking up to how none of this really works when you put it in the real world. It's like, yeah, communism looks great on paper, doesn't work in the real world. Sorry, doesn't work. Then, more people are waking up to the fact that maybe everything they see on the news and on TV and get fed to you by Hollywood, maybe that's not the right mentality. Maybe we don't need to pretend like we agree with these people. Maybe we can be ourselves again, and when they put it in the public, that's when you know that the tide has already shifted. Because before, they wouldn't have printed this. No fucking way. 6 months ago, they wouldn't have printed this.
Exactly. And so when we have to look at, I'm going to go with Lavi. I totally agree with where Lavi's coming from, because while Forbes is not an entertainment industry trade, it's not the Hollywood Reporter, it's not Deadline, it's not the three publications we typically go to every time that are, so often used by the trades. Forbes is a money magazine, and and while it's true it's not an entertainment industry per se, it is a financial magazine, and the entertainment industry is one of the largest industries, in particular in the Forbes top 10 list in terms of ranked of annual revenue. Hello, Disney, a company that we bash on all the time, and righteously so. This is important. This is an important article because it's sending a message out to people that are in the money game about the entertainment industry. I think this is a huge.
On that note, I just looked it up, and Forbes is listed as a global media company focused on business, investing, technology, entrepreneurship, leadership, and lifestyle. No entertainment in there. But here's the thing: is yes, I kind of get what you guys are saying, and I agree to a point, Jesse, that maybe 6 months ago they wouldn't have done this. But this is not the first time Forbes has been really on top of giving Disney some shit lately, and the last few months, like not just Disney, but a few other sides of the industry. And I think that's because Forbes is there for the money people, right?
Yeah, and the economy is in the toilet. Even look at Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin right now. Well, it's fucking almost 60 grand. Or it lost almost 20 grand off the price. It was like 57 a few months, or like even a month ago, I think. It's like what, 40, 41, 42?
But you were going to say something, Mike?
I'm not sure what I was going to say. I forgot.
Okay, well, script. I mean, from the inside point of view, how does the industry on the inside view Forbes?
I mean, from my understanding, they look at them as basically a tracking for where the market is going to be heading. That's what they are. It's all financial. It's if they ever do opinionated stuff with regards to culture, that's usually a big eye opener that says, hey, we got to maybe pay attention to this. If Forbes is publishing this, there might be a reason why. So let's give it some consideration. Let's ask around. Let's start asking questions to our stockbrokers, our investors, our banks, et cetera, et cetera. Where's the market headed? And that's usually what I get from looking at Forbes.
Yeah, I agree with you guys pretty much for the most part that this is a sign of a paradigm shift. I mean, Forbes has kind of been on the forefront of this stuff. Like they're one of the few papers lately who've actually kind of just said it like it is in a few instances. And we need more of this stuff. Now, one thing about this article is I don't know if there's going to be a part 2 to it or something like that, because he doesn't even really get into the one part that he talks about. Because he talks about how he was going to get into like some, certain other parts of Like you're right. Like it almost feels like it was a bit edited down.
Yeah, it's like a plant the seed. Don't go too deep. Just get people to think for a minute.
But at the same time, I think it says everything it needs to say. And you can come up with like every example he comes up here that can be put against everything else, right? He can put it up against Star Trek, Star Wars, every franchise that's out there, all the way back to, Ghostbusters or whatever, 2016. All that can be that he said about the anime industry can be put up against that. And it's still, it fits. So I feel like this is a very important article. I feel like people should spread it around as much as possible. I hope Andre does a video about it. We heard earlier that Clownfish did a video, and I'm glad, and I hope others do as well. Shotgun Fringe said that Vidalia Onion Lady can kick rocks on the moon. Marvel and DC need better execs, writers, artists, and editors, not talentless activists. You know what? At this point, Shotgun, I say let them burn themselves to the fucking ground. Like, that's where we're at this point.
Yeah, not for nothing. You're a company that's been in business for how long, and you let this little shit-nosed brat come in here, and they're going to tell you how it is? Kiss my ass.
Yeah, and Griffin's basically saying what I was trying to say here. Forbes is not for the normies. However, Forbes is for the investors. And ultimately, if the investors see a company as a failure, they will turn their backs. Yeah, and I mean, I kind of wish Ollie would have pinpointed and went after a few specific franchises outside of using anime as a genre, kind of. He could have just threw in sci-fi for that matter, you know what I mean? But like, it would have been better if he picked some examples throughout all of entertainment and threw them in here just to get some jabs in there. But you know what? At the same time, maybe it's a good thing he didn't. And the fact that he's using anime is probably going to get it a little bit more attention. I don't know if anybody else agrees.
Right, exactly.
I think also it's a much safer way to go for Forbes. It's a much more, because you can't mention Star Wars without mentioning Disney and that whole string. You can't mention Star Trek without getting into CBS Live. I mean, I think he took the safe, easy route.
Yeah, but he still said what he needed to say, so it works.
Agreed.
It's a good article.
Yeah. And once in a while, I believe somebody brought up Scott Melkelson or Mendelson.
He's got diabetes.
I think he does write for Forbes once in a while, yes. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but he's crazy.
Yeah, we know. That was a great article, and I'm glad that came across my desk. Thank you for that, Ironcaster, for that. And with that, we have kind of hit all the stuff I wanted to discuss tonight. Did anybody else have any bits and pieces that they wanted to bring up or anything interesting going on that I may have missed?
I have a question for Script. Hey, Script, have you seen Star Wars episodes 1 and 2 of this Boba Fett?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a technical writing question to ask you.
Sure.
Like, why? Like, to me, like, why do writers use flashbacks when I think the most important use of flashback is when you're really in a character or story's mind and it's a reference point to what's going on, versus why do people overuse it as a storytelling tool versus just telling a good story along a timeline? Like, why? And what's like, it's just, I'm baffled by how crappily written that I think the show is.
Well, the flashbacks, more often than not, especially with amateur writers, are a crutch, because what they're doing is they're taking focus away from the present story, because movies are about the present. They're written in present tense. They are reflective of what's happening in that moment, and they have to be constantly moving forward. And anytime you go into a flashback, you essentially stop the story. And then also you deflate the stakes of that flashback, because if it's happening in the past, we know that the character who we're following is going to be okay. So there's actually no drama there. So a flashback can actually remove drama or take the wind out of the sails for drama potential in the story, which is why you want to avoid them at all costs. What I don't understand here with the book.
I never thought about it like that before, but you're really right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I try to avoid them. The only reason you use this flashback is to set up something that is going to happen in the present that's going to be a dramatic reveal. And ideally, the flashback does something significant in that flashback to have that there. So you can do a flashback about a kid who meets a love interest, like the girl that got away, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then he's just dwelling on her, and then all of a sudden he steps out of his apartment, and he's heading towards the bus stop, or he's heading towards his car in the parking lot, or whatever, and he sees the adult version of that girl. And now we as an audience know, oh, there's a history there. It's, a love at first sight from a childhood, and now he's seeing her as an adult where definitely a serious relationship is on the horizon. And then, they meet up, and then you have the next little thing is like, she's got a wedding ring, she's married, and now he's like, oh, now we're not going to have, now he's not going to get this woman that's been the object of his affection for so many years or what have you. So now we got drama. Well, what's going to happen? Is he going to have a friendship with her?
He's going to kill the husband.
Rocks? Is he going to kill? Exactly. Is he going to kill the husband? Like, there's your drama. That's your function of what a flashback can do. But what we have here in the Book of Boba Fett is they're telling us a story about the days after he gets, falls into the Sarlacc, and he gets out after like maybe a couple hours or maybe a day or two or something. And now he's spending 5 years with the Tuscan Raiders until he meets, Boba Fett and gets his armor back, and somehow for some reason is running the mob of Tatooine. But the thing is, like, we're seeing two of those stories play out in the same time, and the present day story is, I think we probably only, out of the hour and a half of Boba Fett we have between the two episodes, I think we've only gotten maybe 7 or 8 minutes of what's happening actually on Tatooine, in Mos Espa and all that, and everything is about, the flashback stuff. To which I would say, well, why even bother with that? Why don't you just do that one shot where, okay, Boba Fett, he's in Jabba's palace, he's in the Bacta tank, and that's all we get of the present, and everything else is just the flashback. In which case, you can actually kind of set up like, well, why is he in the Bacta tank? Like, we know, like, you could have Fennec, whatever her name is, say, like, he's still got several injuries that need to be healing. He's not going to wake for several days. Now we have the mystery. Oh, how did he get here? And then it goes all the way back to, the Sarlacc pit and everything else. And maybe something from that story, as it's being now played in the present, leads up to the industry that resulted him in being in the back.
I always love when a story starts at a certain point, and then you have to basically do the whole flashback through most of the story. Then you get to the present, then you go on from the present. You see what the actual current.
And that's how I would have done it. And actually, you're right.
That's what Sonic the Hedgehog does, which is, it starts, in the climax of the film to get your attention, so you're interested, and it says, but let's stop for a moment and go all the way back, and you're like, oh, so it means you didn't have an interesting start point to your story to begin with in the first place.
Well, here's my thing with this is, first of all, Boba Fett should have never been in Mandalorian. As far as we know in this universe, he's still fucking dead. So what you could have done is had a lot of it being it should have started right where, he picked up his dad's helmet. And from there, we were like, okay, so what did he do? He was a little kid. Let's see him, going up the ranks. Because here's the thing, and this is why I say this, is because once we get to his death, or his original death, let's say, or whatever, when he gets thrown in the Sarlacc pit by blind-ass Han Solo. Basically, let's say, okay, he is this badass, but he was having a bad fucking day. Well, let's see why he was having a bad day. So lead us all up through that shit. And as a typical hero spirit, if you really want to make him a hero, then that's where you make the Sarlacc pit a much bigger scene. And that is his, being reborn scene, right? Because as script knows, with most of these hero stories, you have a hero face their, biggest fear or their adversary. You had that in the Empire Strikes Back, where Vader goes into the cave and he sees, Vader, and he realizes it's himself. That's the whole reason that scene in Rambo is where he's underneath in that cavern forever and he comes out the other side. It's this whole motif of the hero being reborn, right? So you build this all up of why he's such a badass, how things are going wrong for him, and how him, being reborn out of the Sarlacc pit gives him a new reason for living. Then you can move forward with the story where we're at, because you never needed all this other shit that was in Mandalorian. There was no fucking reason for him to be there. None.
Pretty much. I mean, he was there because they introduce him first, and then they blow up the spaceship, so that now they need him because he's the only one that has another spaceship. Oh, sorry, Mike. I was just going to say go ahead. No, go ahead. My last problem with the show is the Tuscan Raiders.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
I don't have a problem with seeing the other side of a character, seeing, like why a villain may want to do something, or kind of understanding, or, Star Trek used to be really good at like making aliens that were actually kids just playing with toys. And we took them as this massive, monster, right? Like that's easy to do in script writing. But what you cannot do is have a character that did what they did to Shmi Skywalker and then try to humanize them
thing.
because you've changed them from beasts with no morals into humanized creatures with morals, making them fucking monsters for what they did to Shmi Skywalker instead of just mindless beasts.
Exactly. Thank you.
And I know it's kind of a
I have something more technical, and
go ahead. Sorry, that was my main gripe.
Right,
with that
and I have something more technical, and I'm going to keep it. I'm still keeping an open mind. I'm thoroughly disappointed that I'm not overly impressed. I think it looks good. I think there's so much potential here. But let me tell you something really weird that happened. So I went to go see the backstory. So on Disney, you can see like the making of or the history of Boba Fett or something like that, the legend of, and it's kind of like, tells you like how they envision the character and all that. And then the flash scene, they show like when he appeared in Mandalorian on that episode. And it wasn't, it was the one where he shows up and it was the one that Robert Rodriguez directed. And I completely forgot that he showed up in a Tuscan Raider outfit. And so all this time I'm like, and maybe I'm the only guy who missed this, but see, this is what happens, I think, also when you keep this thing too close to the vest, is that between the flashbacks back and forth, it's like I almost need a notepad to keep in sequence what the F's going on. I shouldn't have to do that.
Okay, well, and this was this point here that Max brought up and a few others have brought up, I was ready for. It doesn't matter if there were different tribes. The point that you made them people that humanize them, make them creatures that have some kind of understanding and you can communicate with them beyond just being, mindless beasts, kind of how they were presented before. That gives you the problem of then that still makes them monsters because they clearly have the wherewithal to understand a family structure. You're presenting them to us like they're native people, basically, in this last episode, which I thought was just
they're great and honorable Native Americans.
Exactly. So that presents a big fucking problem for.
They can't possibly be gang raping Vader's mother.
They could, but that doesn't.
To death.
You know what? I think for our boy band, the first song that we should release on our new cover album, the four of us, will be the Tuscan Raider song at the end of episode 2. Here, I'm ready to go on the percussion.
No, oh gosh.
I can't do that.
That's a bit much.
Tom, your constigation of the Tuscans is ignoring that they established many different times. Algonquin are an Apache. I get that. Right? But
can we do a house remix of my song?
There's a big different conversation to be had about how.
Yeah, there's a big difference between two different Native American tribes and like beings that aren't smart enough not to gang fuck this person.
There's nothing to say that the Tuscans weren't unintelligent. I mean, our first introduction of them, they're about to snipe Luke Skywalker, but one says, no, don't do that. And then they follow him. Then they ambush him and strip his car for parts. And then they had to run away when they heard the Krayt Dragon call that was mimicked by Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's as much as we really got from them. And we didn't see them again until episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where they,
Yeah, Luke is lucky they didn't
and as Mag brought up, it's implied that Shmi was not only violent. I think George Lucas.
She was out on a stretcher, man.
I think he even confirmed that, and it might even be in the novel. Hillis Mallory says, notice the bantha stick that he had in Mando is being trotted around by the Tuscan chief.
Well, he made his own stick in this second episode, and that's the one that we saw in The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Now, back to the whole thing. I get it. Now, I know there's like an argument to be made for a lot of this, but at least when it comes to what, the whole native wars and all that kind of stuff, again, and I was just getting to this point, Troy, like, that is people of the same exact, like, I don't know. It just, to me, how do I put this? It's like reverse bestiality on top of, if they're such a benevolent people, then why would they even do that in the first place? Why would they? See, here's my problem. Shmi did not possess anything about her that she was doing nothing that would be a threat to them, right? Like, you can go back into history, and if you step aside from the German thing here that you're bringing up, and you actually just talk about native tribes and all the stuff they dealt with, like there was attacks on both sides, and people took prisoners and stuff of that sort, and also killed on both sides, and it was a war kind of thing, back and forth kind of thing.
Well, there's not two sides. There's like 20 or 30.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I'm just saying there's two sides to the
Apache,
equation of each
Dakota,
equation.
Navajo,
I'm just saying that's my point. Is there's two sides to the equation, though, is what I'm saying here. Is I'm trying to equate it with this, right? So this would be the equivalent if we had like a Sasquatch running around, like we had tribes of Sasquatch running around kidnapping people. That's the equivalent I'm trying to get to here. They're trying to make this and humanize them in a sense of making this an argument like they're people, like they're trying to equate them with like native tribes. And to me, that's where my problem is you're trying to make a creature into a human thing that exists already, and that's the problem.
I always figured
I
like
guess I'm not finding my words correctly.
Underneath.
Well, I have another way
I
to
always assumed there was some weird alien looking bug
Me
thing.
too.
Man.
I have another way to put it. If this show in my boys at Echo Base Network are catching major heat, I'm not impressed by this series at all, but I'm also not trashing it totally. And I want to see more episodes. I will say this though, is that if this thing was well done, it would be a unifying force amongst whatever is left of the Star Wars fandom. And instead, what's happening is that because it's not well done, as per what Script Doctor was talking about earlier, it's causing a further chasm, and further Disney is further killing off what little Star Wars fans there are left, because those of us that are left can't even agree on this damn freaking episode and this damn freaking TV show, because you know what? It's not great. It's just okay.
Okay, well, then here's my other question. Do they kidnap other Tuscan Raiders from other different tribes?
Sure, why not?
Do they? We ever see that?
Know.
I would assume they would.
That's what I'm saying. We need to. I need to know more about them before they do these kind of things. We also have George with us, who had an actual really good.
George.
Hey, how you doing
today? We're debating all this stuff, and I don't know. I just.
Do you think that the Tuscan Raiders are being too humanized after they basically?
I think so.
Brutalized
That's my argument I'm trying to
Anakin's
make.
Mother and
Yeah, Tom left that comment on my video today, and I thought, it's a very accurate comment. But I also think, at least what they've shown so far, is that there are multiple tribes. I think that's why he pointed it out.
And to go back to my original point, though, and kind of back up what I'm saying here is, I would say any human that would do the same thing would be a monster.
1,000. No, anybody who does it. I don't care if you're blue, purple, right? But I think the difference, it's just kind of like how you had the Navajo versus the Hopi versus the Cherokee versus the Apache versus the Crow. They're all different. Maybe we've only seen the bad ones. I don't know.
See, my idea too is that there were always the people that weren't so much primitives. They always struck me as more of that post Road Warrior style.
I had this thing.
Animals again.
That's what I thought. Until, of course,
I always thought they were more animal. That's why I have a. That's why.
I think they got bug
face. They were scavengers. I never
considered
an animalistic aspect to them.
Oh,
that they're scavengers.
Oh, I always thought they were more. Yeah, I kind of saw. I can see where you're coming from, Script Doctor. Hello, by the way, Mike. How you doing, Jesse? No, I can see where you see that. I always thought from the first time, like when I saw him as a kid, I thought, big bad guy, animal. That's. And then when I saw Road Warriors, Jesse hit a spot. I thought they were kind of like those guys, but obviously whether that was the original idea, I'm not sure. But now they're showing them, as a tribe.
According to what I'm looking up in the EU shit, I think they made them more humanoid, it looks like.
Gotcha. Because
we don't know what they look like under the mask.
See, that's what I was going to ask is, I even thought, are they going to pull the mask up? Because I feel that warrior who trained him after kicking his ass, Boba, that it's a girl. Like, I feel like it's, it is. Okay, so it's a girl. And I was like, at some point, there's going to be the reveal.
That brings me to my last problem. If we're at a point where Boba Fett is supposed to be one of the most badass bounty hunters in the world, what is him learning how to swing a stick from a primitive tribe guy going to teach him?
Yeah, he would take the stick, break it, and shoot him.
Now that I would disagree.
All right,
I would disagree with.
I just Googled Tuscan Raider face. Okay, this is not my view on what their face looks like. This guy thinks they look like this. That ain't pretty.
Well, right, but he doesn't. Yeah.
What about that? That's a little closer to what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking they looked like, yes.
Oh my God, that looks like my ex-girlfriend.
Really? You need to stop drinking.
I have a funny feeling because of the sun. Let's say that they were normal, but everything dried up, blah, 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 blah. So they covered themselves because of the sun. They got the little holes in there so they can breathe through all that crap. That they've evolved, but maybe underneath it, it's just a woman, and this is just like a person, and this is all a facade. Like they use
got an old video game,
whatever. But
I don't know.
Video game when it shows mummy face.
But when it comes to learning that art of that staff from him, I would say it'd be the same way, like the British at one time or the preeminent empire. The sun never sets, but you set one of their soldiers against one of the Shaolin monks without a rifle.
Okay, well, I'll concede that on the other part then, but I'm still not so sure that there's much that Boba Fett could learn from them fight-wise.
No, maybe he's surviving in the desert. It's not canon at all. Look, his father fought fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's my point.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right, but he's going to learn styles.
He was the Sith killer in all of Star Wars. He's got the body count.
I agree.
He just fights him. He's a clone, but yeah, he's got the same DNA.
He fights him with gadgets and weapons.
Yes, exactly. It's like George.
That's what let me down. That's what let me down. What Script just mentions that
George,
during
if I'm
that
like
fight,
a tactical modern warrior, George, if I'm a tactical modern warrior, why am I gonna go back in time and learn how to use like a stick sword? I mean,
because if you don't have your guns or modern weapons, you need something to hit somebody.
I actually know how to use the stick sword before you ever picked up the gun.
But he runs the whole area.
He should already know how to do that.
But it's getting down to, it's kind of like, I'll put it this way, preppers. There are thousands of preppers all around the country, and they learn now today how to blacksmith, how to do things that we haven't done in ages, because they're like, what happens if something happens?
That's right. And even somebody who's in the military usually gets some kind of martial arts training. I'll give you that.
Bounty hunter.
But
okay, look, he's going up against random crazy.
That's not what I was going to say either. But
I think you have to.
He would know some kind of hand-to-hand combat. Is my point.
I think he does. I think he was just learning another style. It's like having a master swordsman in martial arts. I think he just picked up another style. That's all I took.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good swordsman, you're not necessarily going to be great with a bow staff.
Right, with everything. It's
that's absolutely true. That is scientific fact. Like every martial arts master will tell you that.
I didn't see anything. My point is this: they're not fucking Mr. Miyagi. Okay,
no,
that's what
they're not. They're not. But, but they are the experts in there.
I mean, he learned a couple of moves.
Right, but that's but you're proving your point, actually. They're not Mr. Miyagi. They know their one little area, which is why they kept getting killed by a train until he's like, I can show you how to kill him. Like, they don't know how to use anything. I mean,
remember, like, Boba Fett's a bounty hunter with Mandalorian armor that made him pretty much impervious to any enemy he ever faced. That pretty much leads him to the point where it's like, I don't really need to try too hard skill-wise because they can shoot me and I'm going to walk right past it without any issues.
Exactly.
Like, that was kind of a thing that was going on with him in the books, is that he was a tactician who fought at a distance. He never really got into close quarters combat before.
Correct.
That's never really...
And you don't really need close quarters combat when you have a rocket launcher, a gun, and a flamethrower on your body, right?
And a jetpack.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So let's go beyond
a
that
new
for
set
a
of
second.
skills, which there's nothing wrong with, and I'm fine with that.
Because the skills played into this bit here with the train. And here's my next question then.
Yep.
Because I agree with this. There was no real stakes on the train. I get it that the train was going through their territory, but then these people would be smart enough to go out of the way because they know when the fucking train comes through.
Right.
Get out of it, because that's the only thing I can understand is that they're getting killed by these guys for no good reason.
But if they just stayed down beside, like in their little tent, little Mexican, little TP, little area, whatever the heck in Native American area was, and didn't go up there and aim and shoot, they wouldn't have gotten shot back at either.
Right, I agree.
The whole storyline made no sense.
That's the thing with the Tuscan Raiders that I do know, going off of what Naked Fame, said. Obi-Wan, I guess, said they were mindless beasts. I'm trying to remember when he said that, but no,
mindless beasts don't walk single file to hide their numbers.
Right. No, but like they were, but that's my point. Mike was saying I was going to get at too. Is the things we've seen out of them before is they're probably being shot at because the dumb fucker shot at them first. What did we see in episode 1? You had fucking 2 of them sitting on top of fucking mountain there shooting at the fucking pod racers because it's fun.
I think it's because I agree. That's why there's good points on all sides. My biggest issue with episode 1 was 2. It made a bad decision, which I didn't understand, which is why I said I'd give it 3 episodes, because my Boba Fett that I grew up reading would have taken the Major Domo's head and had it dropped in the mayor's lap. Been like, yeah, okay. Did you send this? Okay, let's just clarify. 2,
exactly.
2, he didn't use his fucking jetpack in the middle of the fight. I'm like, it's on your back, bitch. It's like
it is broke or is it fixed?
He hasn't fixed it. He's never going to fix it because they can't afford that kind of special effect.
Well, I think it would just make it.
They're Disney. They're not made
He
of
would
money.
whoop their ass too quick. Ergo, there'd be no point in the fight because then we'd be bitching about he took care of him. It wasn't a challenge. What's the point? That's why I think the second episode, though.
That's why you don't fuck with Boba Fett.
Well, that's the other part too. Is
Or
that's
yeah,
why
at least you didn't used to.
they
Now
had
you
those
just talk to
holographic
them.
shields. Why didn't they also give them like garrote wire or something to hold them down? So if he did use the jetpack, they could hit him with some lines and try to use their
Like
combined weight to keep
bolos,
him
yeah.
down.
Right. There's. I think the whole
Have some
point of a lot
inventive-
of. Say that again, Script Doctor. You broke up. I didn't.
I'm sorry, George. But what I usually say, and I say this in my videos, is that when you're dealing with a fight scene, you know the parameters or the abilities of what each character has. In order to make that challenging, you should have those things challenged itself.
Right.
So Boba Fett has a jetpack. Well, how do you stop a jetpack? Well, you either anchor him some way or you disable the jetpack. So that should be the first priority that these assassins do. That way you can keep them on the ground, and now you have a plausible combat scenario that makes sense.
But
but they don't do that.
I agree completely, and I think that's why if we take what I tried to do in this is because I have a hard on in hating Disney. Like I trashed their Eternals and Shang-Chi. I can't stand Kathleen Kennedy. I'd like to choke her out. I mean, in a fantastical hypothetical world, YouTube, just can't stand her because she ruined my Star Wars. But I try to go into everything. Not giving either side a plus or minus, just being objective. And what I liked about Boba Fett was it's kind of like, I like the slow Western pace. I didn't get enough of the feel that I wanted, but I got it in episode 2 where it felt a little bit like Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in America for about 5 minutes, at least to me. And, but when it comes to trapping him with a jetpack, that's a brilliant idea. I think we saw how that played out in the beginning of episode 2 when Fennec Shand is making fun of them. Like, this is like they're nothing but a name. Like, I think they didn't think of any of those things because they suck. No, because she's sitting there going like, oh, the legendary Night Wind Assassins. And he's like, the droid's like, they will never speak. She's like, oh, yeah, really? Like, clank. There's not a creature there. And the guy pissed himself. He's like, I'll tell you right away. Like, I think they were showing that they aren't as badass. There are a few thugs they hired who have some equipment. Okay, go kill the dude. They didn't even do their research.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say it's kind of ironic because the whole concept is that they're formidable warriors by reputation only.
Right.
And it's like, well, Disney is a competent studio by reputation,
only.
But
Yeah.
the actual fact of the matter is like, no, they're not.
Maybe it's super meta. Maybe it was a super meta against Disney. Like a meta.
If it was done quite quickly because again, I don't think they had the whole amount of time on the actual writing side of things for this show.
Yes, that's what was weak.
I got word earlier today that The Mandalorian season 3 should be wrapping production by end of March.
What?
Yeah. And
how can it be that fast?
It means that they're not doing a whole lot of stuff on pre-production wise, which means they're just pounding out the scripts as quickly as possible. They're not really thinking about what they're doing with it. They don't really care, I guess, or at least their level of care is circumvented by their excitement that they're doing Star Wars. And I've seen that with even some of the best writers. They're so excited about doing a story or a property that they've been vying to do for like a decade. Mm-hmm. Once they get it down, it's like, we can't touch anymore. It's now become sacred. And you're like, well, no, you're better than that. Give yourself like, a day to clear it out of your head, go back and read it as if you didn't write the thing. And see the flaws that are in there and fix them so that it can be worthy of the IP that you fell in love with.
Well, I don't understand. Favreau wrote episode 2, and yet it had holes in it, which is what was my issue. Was a lot.
Well,
of
I think
that's the excitement aspect coming in.
I'm going to agree with Script, and I'm going to go a step further and say I think his problem is that he's keeping this too close to the vest, and he needs more professional, more experienced, more skilled writing with him on a team that's helping him get these things.
I think they only have one writer's assistant in the writing team. I think it's
how is that possible?
Some other guy. Yeah,
I thought Favreau would have it's John Favreau. He'd have like a whole office full of people.
We don't want too many cooks in the kitchen because then you're never going to be able to come to a consensus on any sort of decision. But you need someone in there that can,
devil's advocate. A
devil's advocate that is working on the concept of trying to get the best out of you. So like whenever I'm working with a writing partner, especially if there's one that's like, way more connected than I am, or they've hired me, my whole goal is like, listen, I'm going to tell you stuff you might not want to hear, but I'm only doing this to make sure that you are giving out the best thing possible and getting the best thing out of me.
Makes sense.
You can disagree with me, you can knock down my ideas all day long you want, but I'm just going to throw them out there because if you're not thinking about this stuff, and I don't want you waking up in the middle of the night after we've like sent off a draft or something, think, why didn't Script Doctor tell me this? Because I just realized it now, and that's the last thing you want to do. And
never tell people what they want to hear.
Well, there is a story group there. And here's the funny part is we know
another department of the story group that's
they're there,
with them,
but
a real story
according to what we heard from that Bologna guy, that according to him, that's the problem that Patty Jenkins was running into, was dealing with the story group. But from what we know from interviews that Favreau has said, the only person he seems to really run anything by is Filoni.
Yep.
And Filoni is kind of
Filoni. Isn't that what you told me?
I think Filoni is fine with the story group. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. As far as I know, in that respect, is all he really does is just kind of make sure that it lines up with whatever, because like that's what he's supposed to be there for. He's like he even said, I can't remember the exact words, I'm paraphrasing, but he said in so many words like, Filoni's my guy who tells me, what I need to know or what I can and cannot do in this universe and things of that sort. So that's when I said like that whole point with the whole convoluted business with the Darksaber went down with, she couldn't just accept it from.
Oh, that
Mando
I didn't like
shit.
that.
See, and people were pointing out that that's not how it worked in the Clone Wars, and then that's where I said, well, Filoni should have known that, and that's not Favreau's fucking place to know that, because that's why Filoni is there. So that's why I said that was his fault, or he said it doesn't fucking matter. One of the two.
Well,
Can I
ask you, this story group, is this, again, this I do not know, so completely no knowledge here about it. Is that story group the same one group that does the High Republic? Is it just one story? Come on, it can't be those people.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about what? 15
they don't write anything good.
No, they don't.
Well, that's the argument I was just making. Is I don't know how much control they actually have over John Favreau.
That can't be from them.
I think the only connection is Filoni.
This has to be Favreau.
None of the story group people have any credits on this thing.
They're the people who put a rock as a character, and they think it's the 70s, like the Pet Rock era, Geode.
Well, they call it Geode, but everybody knows, anyone with any understanding of geology knows that a Geode has some crystalline aspects in it. So, like, they just put a rock. They should have called it, like, slate. or henge or something.
That's because you have a
the big question is, are we going to be doing Stonehenge?
But
we're not fucking doing Stonehenge.
We had a Stonehenge that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
That kind of depresses me a little bit, but on the other aspect, it makes me a little happier. It means that Favreau must be doing the writing, because I don't like anything they've done so far that I've read.
Yeah, he is doing the writing, but I think he needs a little.
I think he's doing it under the auspices of Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni, I don't think has any real contention with the story group at all. Because again, from the story group's perspective, Dave Filoni created Ahsoka Tano, a very diverse female strong character. And then he also publicly defended, female strong characters in Star Wars, even though no one's really angry at strong female characters. They're angry at their lazy execution.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's happening here, is that Favreau's like, I want to do this type of thing, and Filoni probably massages along a certain type of story.
Oh,
and then they also, Favreau's a very smart guy. I think he's trying to do what George Lucas is, which is be an experimenter, because Star Wars has some experimental aspects to it.
Okay.
And I think that's what he's trying to do.
All these callbacks and homages and shit. That's Favreau.
You think that is where we
went into Favreau? I guarantee.
He's
the one weaving in all the Western stuff. He's the one weaving in all the little tidbits in there.
Yeah.
The shit at Tashi Station. That's probably all Favreau.
We saw Luke Skywalker's friends from the deleted scene.
And I like those things. There's little bits. See, that's the problem with the show, is I want to like it.
Yeah.
But I'm just having a hard time trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do with the Tuscan Raiders when they were already presented to us in a certain way.
Bad guys.
Well, not just bad guys, but they were pretty much a
trying
joke
to like bad things. Stop trying to like bad things.
there
You'll
you
have
go.
a much better time.
I don't think he's trying to like bad things. I think you love Star Wars, the original, correct, Tom?
Just I love the originals. I have some
okay.
issues with the prequels, but
does everybody here like the
prequels?
Does everyone here like the originals? Just so we're on the same page before I ask.
Dude.
So everybody likes the original.
Originals are great. The prequels are good too.
I like the prequels.
Wrong with the prequels.
A lot of people. I like the prequels. I did.
Ewan McGregor did a great job.
I didn't like the acting. I didn't like what Lucas. The way he had Hayden Christensen act, it felt very operatic.
Lucas doesn't know how to direct actors.
The third movie had many.
Do you know what I'm saying? It felt very like the only one I can think of is staccato, very pragmatic, very like I felt like every line was Captain Kirk, times 10.
Yeah,
I love you. I don't know. It was a very, but my point is that people want to hold on to that fire. So you have. A lot of people go, okay, what do we do with a Kathleen Kennedy run Lucasfilm? Well, we could say, go to hell to her. Now, that to me plays into her game. She wants to get rid of the old fans to make way for her #hero haters and the blue hairs. That's what she wants. Why would I play a game she wants? So our job, at least in my mind, is keep the flame alive from the old. We don't purchase any of the merchandise if that sends any type of message while trying to point out the problem so we can hopefully change it. Slowly. I've even bought stock in Disney so I can vote.
You make me think like Mr. Miyagi on this shit, dude. It's like you think about the old movies as being a fire that you could keep alive in a furnace. But if you were to take the fire out of the furnace, now you burn down the whole house.
That's why you got to be careful. That's why I'm saying I think that's what Tom is trying to express. It's the same thing I'm feeling. When I saw the first episode, I'm like, I'm not going to watch any more of this. And I'm like, let me take a step back. Is this me because I despise Disney? Is it because I just didn't like the show? I'm like, no, I really didn't like these aspects of the show. I didn't like the fact that they made him look this way. So I'm saying, okay, why don't I give it 3 episodes and see if it changes or it gets worse? That's why I took it.
The real issue is that we all like the 70s and the 80s and we hate the 20s.
Tennille89 says, bit late to the party, but this just occurred to me. Know what CW is? It's a modern UPN, both filling the role of the network equivalent of the short bus. Well, it's funny because it used to be UPN.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we were. Yeah, we spoke about that.
He's late to the game, though. So,
you're very much right to the deal. Right to it.
Yeah.
I would say that with regards to Star Wars itself, and Disney Lucasfilm, they are not going to Highlander 2, the Disney trilogy. It's not going to happen under this current regime. The fact that Highlander 2 became kind of ignored and retroactively removed is a miracle within those people that had that franchise.
Well, no one ever said it actually was technically removed other than that it happens in the future. But then the only thing that really did that was Endgame when they finally killed Connor before it could ever happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this Highlander season of what was it?
Who we bullshitting on Highlander, man?
Well, it doesn't matter because Highlander
awesome.
3. No, I know. I love Highlander, but Highlander 3 doesn't equate with the series either. So
Highlander 3 is okay though, but anything after Highlander, the original movie, can't take place because he won the prize. He was the best one.
Exactly.
If there was more at that point, they would have all known about it. It doesn't matter. If Mario Van Peebles is stuck in a cave in Japan, it doesn't matter if who's the bad guy from Beastmaster 3, because that's the bad guy from Highlander 2.
The series punches all kinds of fucking holes into everything.
And then, of course, there's Duncan,
Adrian Paul.
Not only is there Duncan, there's like 20,000 other ones that they introduced in there.
The Highlander series,
I get
if
it.
they never made that show,
that
would be a loss.
I'm not saying that. But that's my point. Is it's still like it is what it is.
I enjoyed the series.
That's why I'm not afraid of them rebooting Highlander. It's so convoluted at this point.
See, I love the series because he had the charisma and there's great scenes like him with what was it, Robert Daltrey going back and forth.
Oh God, he played a great character. Yes,
I could have watched the whole show with just them two busting each other's balls all day.
They made 3 of them together. I watched them.
Throws in another $2 and says script doctor is a Naismith
cartoon.
Well, I mean, like, if a bad idea comes up, I don't usually say no, that's a bad idea. I'm like, let's explore that. And you pursue it long enough. When not even doesn't, if it's a bad idea, it doesn't take too long to do.
You have to always look for the holes in your ship before you put it in the water.
Yeah, Script Doctor's not a Naismith. He's very open-minded.
He sits here and listens to my ideas.
He just calls bullshit.
He's letting us use monkeys in every movie.
He's kidding. There's something there. Like,
I think
it may be ridiculous, but you can even a ridiculous concept can be made great. So
I will argue an ape or a monkey can make anything better. Period.
Well,
George, you saw the end of the episode, right, where they were dancing and the fire and all that. Well, we got good news. Before you got here, we're gonna form a boy band. We want you to be our guest lead singer on the cover, and we're gonna do the Tuscan Raider.
Good Lord.
I can't sing, but I'll do my best.
Oh, Tennille says no, he meant what he was referring to.
I got
you. Which meaning the
which conversation?
I think he means his other super chat.
I have a question. If they had let what would you think? Like, what would your best Boba Fett show be? Like, would Boba Fett just be his old self killing everything?
I'll answer that curious. In a second. Just to be clear, though, I think he meant this one. I don't think he was naysaying you at all. He said you were dead on,
right on the money, actually.
Yeah, I just thought it was ironic because they were UPN. But to answer your question, George, I basically said what I would do with the Boba Fett show is you got to show us who this fucking character is. It's great that he's a mystery. If you're going to keep him a mystery, if you're not going to keep him a mystery, then you've built up this big idea because he's the guy that Vader had to turn to and go, no disintegrations. So for him,
he had so much time to grow as a character in that half hour that he was stuck in a worm in the desert.
Well, that's my point. Is that had to be a much bigger deal than what they had here in this show. That should have been kind of like
a whole show.
And that's where I say that he shouldn't even have been in The Mandalorian because it's like, okay, as far as we know as an audience now, take out the EU since Disney fucking trashed that. We know he dies at that point. That's why I said the first 2/3 or whatever better should have been us leading up to, or the first third at least leading up to that point, and then the other side of the series being him getting through that, getting out of that, and then having a new viewpoint on life or something or whatever, or give us a reason for why he's doing this, because we don't know anything about the character other than what we know already. And from what I know of the character, this is just like, okay, this is what Boba Fett's supposed to be all this time.
Honestly, if I was going to make a Boba Fett show and you left it up to me, there wouldn't be a lot of main characters at all. Most of the show, honestly, would be him flying solo through space, jamming it to space tunes, and planning on who he's going to take down next for how much.
Would that last long as a show, though?
Yeah, because you could hunt down as many bad guys as you want.
Yeah, that's kind of what the Mandalorian was supposed to be.
Like I put it into this.
I don't give a fuck about the Mandalorian. I don't know who the Mandalorian is from the movies. I know who Boba Fett is.
No,
one's more important than the other.
No, I'll put it this way. Boba Fett, we start at the beginning, not really the beginning of his bounty hunting career, but let's have him like on the first season, he's tracking down 3 quarries that he's got to get. Right? And then you the second season, you kind of do something similar to the formula where he's able to, find larger bounties, but it ends with basically the Empire setting out a net thing saying, we're looking for this ship.
Right.
And then that just goes into Empire, in which case the third season you don't do anything to recover Empire. You just have that third season being him taking Han Solo to Jabba, and then he's on Tatooine, learning of this new thing. Because Jabba put the bounty, that largest bounty on any person in the galaxy on Han Solo.
Yeah.
So Boba Fett is now rich beyond his wildest dreams. Now he has that question: what do I do with my life? Do I just hang out, work for Jabba? Do I go on my own? Do I still want to be a bounty hunter, even though I was just doing it for money? Now I've got all the money I ever need. Like, there's a lot of questions to explore there for a character, and you don't even need to get to the Sarlacc pit yet.
Yeah, but exactly. The thing is, the type of person he is, he would have just gotten a bigger, badder ship.
Well, no, script is describing exactly what I'm saying. Is there's so much shit that you could have done to lead us up to that point. Because here's my problem with the series, and that gets me to my main point. Is all this shit that's happening with the Tuscan Raiders shouldn't have happened. I mean, that's the other problem with the series is I feel like this is a Boba Fett that's 20 years out from the last Boba Fett we saw.
It is.
Yeah, for real.
But it is.
Because in real life it is, but in the show it isn't.
They
Oh,
didn't
because
think
all
about
this
that,
shit-
Tom.
right,
They
right,
didn't
because-
think about that.
all this shit is happening right after
at
Return of the fucking
you're
Jedi.
Right, you're right. So it should be right
And
afterwards, right?
it should be like, okay, I could see this kind of a Boba Fett being like 20 years out of the Sarlacc pit is my point, not right out of the Sarlacc
I will
pit.
say one thing though. I don't think. No, I know it comes right after Return of the Jedi, but did you look at the sail barge? If you paid attention to it when he got out of it, it didn't look like it looked like it had rusted and it was old. Not rusted.
He might have been down there for a while.
Man, how do you know
Wait,
he wasn't down there?
You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna do
long.
the same thing they did with what was the last fucking crappy movie? They're gonna just release a comic book and they're gonna retcon it where deep down inside of the worm belly there was some magic goo that turned him into a good guy, and that explains everything.
Well,
It's
he
not
couldn't have been
good.
down there very long because he would have either starved to death or suffocated. So
We know
What
from
about
Tremors how
hibernation?
long that takes.
What about hibernation of some sort?
humans
I don't know.
humans and humanoids don't really hibernate. that
No, I know
way.
they don't. I'm
Exactly.
saying something in there because of the fact that it takes 1,000. I'm just
Yeah,
No,
but
you're absolutely right. It takes 1,000 years to digest inside your digestion
know
over the course of 1,000 years. Kind of like how a snake digests a rat over a course of weeks.
I know that no matter
Well, I
what,
can't
Boba
think
Fett
of
was
another
smart
one.
enough, even if his jetpack was shot and broken, that he would have been able to make the fuel cell rupture and blow a hole in that fucking worm the size of at least a doorway.
He kind of
I
does
know.
that in the book. He uses a concussion grenade and blows himself out.
Right, but the
Yeah,
other guy
I seen
helped him, if I
Egon do it
remember-
to the boogeyman. So.
If I remember correctly, that other bounty hunter helped him, didn't he? In the book, it's been a while.
Dengar found his body after he had crawled out.
He
Yeah,
found him, but he got out of it. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, because Boba Fett in the books, even though they're kind of like tossed out at this point from Disney's perspective, he loses a leg to cancer. He's got a daughter. His real name is Jasper Burrell, but that was retconned with the Clone Wars.
I like
with the Clone
Jasper
Wars
Burrell.
series. Me too, because he was a more interesting character. Then they retconned him again, so that Jasper Burrell adopted Jango Fett. And that was it gets
I
complicated.
liked it. It was a very rich character, very rich. But I guess
character.
Let me ask you this. Let me turn the conversation a little differently. George, you're going to obviously keep watching it. I'm going to keep watching it. Jesse, Script, you guys plan to keep watching this?
I'm not watching it at all.
Oh,
I'm enjoying watching you guys watch it.
Okay, Script.
It's not really a priority.
I want to know something. Has Bosk shown up? Or
No.
is
No,
he
but they
supposed to
did
be-
better makeup job with the Trandoshans this
Yeah.
portion of the- yeah.
All right, so George, as let me ask you this as our guest of the panel, where do you hope that this series goes from here on out? With the knowledge that I just learned from Script on Tuesday that there's only 7 episodes of this thing, and you've already seen 2. So where do you?
Where I hope it goes is that he takes out that he finishes off with the twins, with the Hutts, that he puts his foot down, he stops playing this complete diplomat and brings back some of the Boba Fett we saw at Tashi Station in the last episode, where he just, take no prisoners kind of a guy, even though he didn't kill them. But where he rules and he leaves it to Fennec Shannon, he goes off to, I don't know if it's bounty hunting where I thought where it would lead, but I thought that he would leave it to Fennec Shannon. He goes off. Kind
He
of
has no purpose. That's the one thing that bothers
that's
me.
where
with
I'm
the
trying.
show.
It's like something is going to guide him where he has to get back to being a bounty hunter. Or maybe it's a big enemy. Maybe it's a list of people. But I thought it would lead back to he's going to have to face off, obviously, with Chrysanthus. I can never pronounce his name. The Black Wookiee, the Black-furred Wookiee, the Black Silver Wookiee.
Yeah.
Because
The
in
big
the
one.
because in the books they have a history. And that he's going to face down with the Hutts, and he's going to.
Is he going to go to Hutta and try and?
See, I
play
don't
the
think he's
stake?
gonna. See, I don't think he's gonna ask for their permission. That's what's gonna cause the trouble for him. Where he
I
has
wasn't
to
thinking
leave.
asking his permission, but basically just shooting someone up and be like, I own Tatooine. Like, leave me
Yeah.
alone.
I guess that's kind of what I mean.
I
He's
want to
gonna-
see. I want to see a Hut at the Hut homeworld. I do.
I'd like to see that.
You
I
want
like
to see a big bunch of big fat slugs just sitting around?
We already saw 2 of them somehow being
Yeah.
carried by only 9 people. I think I was like, you need at least 3 or 4 times that amount of people to carry
Yeah.
giant slugs that big.
I was like, how strong are these people?
Yeah, and how are they not just killing the slugs?
They're slave strong if they'll. If they
I have
fall
another
down, they
dumb
get shot.
question. I have another dumb question. If we've got land speeders and hovercrafts everywhere and trains that go fast like above ground, how come anybody needs to carry anybody?
I think it's just power show. I think
that's a power show. Yeah,
My-
and they call it
Mikey-
a litter, which makes me laugh.
I think it's because they
An
never
envoy.
figured out that old special that said they put Vaseline on the camera to hide the wheels.
I think it's literally just to show their power. Look, we don't need this, but we get it. You know, it's kind of like they could get a hover.
Okay, so
glider
it's kind of like I could have 1 or 2 lightsabers, but instead I got 25.
Right. It's the same. It's like it's even more than that. It's the fact that we could be more comfortable on something that's hovering, but we're putting people to work. We have slaves, and we don't give a shit.
And that's a
Yeah,
show
but
about-
like
yeah.
if you're a fat slug and you get dropped, you're gonna go rolling down the rocks and bust it all up. I'd rather have the hovercraft.
But funny enough, they showed that in Phantom Menace in the beginning of the pod racing scene. You saw off in the corner, you saw Jabba kind of slither quickly. I mean, he wasn't that slow.
No,
Really?
he wasn't.
He moved. Do you remember that?
All
Yeah.
I'm gonna say is with those Jabbas, the twins, they're totally spawning.
Oh,
Gross.
Oh,
I didn't think about that.
Ew.
I do like
Bunch of
Jennifer
big
Beal.
inbred
I think they're
slugs.
asexual
No.
though. Like they
I'm
self-replicate.
just being an ass.
There is a question I do have is how come there are so many cameos in this? Like I didn't know Rodriguez is now cameoed twice. In the first one he directed, and now in this one he's the mayor.
Well, he's the voice of the mayor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
Nobody else wants to be a part of this thing.
is that because everybody wants to be in Star Wars, or is that just like a thing?
Yeah, everybody does want to be in Star Wars, and I don't blame them for that.
Because you had Sam Witwer voice the Rhodian in the first one in the camp, but he didn't play it, which is odd. It's like they had him do the voice, but it was a girl in the body. So
Women are always playing the Rhodians because they're small, frail-looking creatures. Like Greedo was played by a woman, and
I didn't know
Han
that.
shot her.
And then you have Jennifer Beals, and then you had that comedian or comedic actor David Pasquizzi. I've seen him before. He was the major domo. I thought it was somebody else, but so it's like it almost feels to me like if someone says they're doing a Star Wars show, it's like everybody comes out of the woodwork to be in it. Is that correct, script doctor?
It seems that way, yeah. I mean, why not? After all, like, heck, when George Lucas announced that he's doing a prequel trilogy, Samuel Jackson begged to be a stormtrooper in that.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, but that was when it had the prestige. Now it's
true.
just
it still has prestige today.
it still has prestige because, especially you get close to.
Look,
this
she's
thing.
wearing heels.
Yeah, yes.
Nowadays
Wow.
to me it feels like more like you're going to be in multiple movies. They might not be good, but they're there and they'll pay you.
Wow. See, you know what was depressing is when Script told me that Filoni was baloney. I was like, that's the guy who's going to help save Star Wars.
Oh no!
He's the
No,
self-appointed
no.
apprentice of George Lucas. George Lucas has never said that Filoni is going to be his steward.
So he's just a
I heard
recon.
No,
in
if
an
that was
interview
going to be the
product.
case, he would have gave him Lucasfilm instead of KK.
Because I
Exactly.
remember in an interview 2 years ago that Filoni didn't say it, but he kept hinting like he had the blessing of Lucas. Like,
He
I'm
wanted
carrying
to.
on. Lucas is, I'm like,
Self-promotion, George. Self-promotion.
Well, he's
Right.
the one that was
Jesus
head of the
complex.
Clone Wars, and even Lucas said that the cartoon kids love it, but it's not something he would do.
Yeah, see, he didn't really care for Ahsoka, and that's one of the reasons why I said I think Filoni's in it for himself. Because
gotcha.
as far as George was concerned, she died in Order 66.
Here's
Yeah.
another one I'm going to tell you, George. To go look at the go on the Disney Plus. Go over there and look at the Legend of Boba Fett. It's a little 10, 15, 20
I
minutes.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go check it out.
Go check it out because in there it's interesting just to watch Filoni's body language about it. You can tell that this is a guy who I'm going to go back to what Tom said earlier. You can tell that this is a guy who might be somewhat tangentially involved in this thing, but he's not integrally involved. Even his body language is like I'm kind of checked out. Yet when you see like interviews of him when he's talking about the stuff he did on Clone Wars or others, even when he talked about Bad Batch, which I thought sucked,
I haven't seen it.
He has a much more engaged persona about it all.
So should I watch Clone Wars? It's one thing I posted in my video. I've only watched 2 episodes in my life. I've never had the time. And I was like, is it worth to watch that in Rebels? I've never seen
Well,
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I look. Are you
Script
looking for
says,
great storytelling or fun ride? This is. It was made for kids. So if you enjoy it from
It's
that
very
perspective-
it's very targeted for children, and not in the positive sense. Like Batman the Animated Series, it was not necessarily
it.
made for kids, but it was advertised for kids. That's the thing. Like, there's a difference. When you're writing for children, you're technically writing for a bunch of people that desire to be an adult as soon as possible. You have to keep that in mind.
Okay.
But when you write for kids, like as Filoni does, it's basically we're going to assume your education is of a 7-year-old, and that's as far as it's going to go.
Gotcha.
So it keeps you in a state of arrested development, whereas actually writing for kids is to safely allow them to enter in a more adult world, without any risk of reprisal, so to speak.
And to put it this way, I never watched any of it either. When I broke my leg and I was in rehab listening to Midnight Sitch After Dark, for 2 or 3 months, if I wasn't on YouTube, then I let the episodes play and I turned through all the seasons of it. But I wouldn't say I prefer it over reading or watching something else that's good.
Does it have material that is canon, that is integral to knowing, or no?
It's considered canon. Clone Wars is more interesting than Rebels. Rebels is kind of like new age crap for kids, but like Clone Wars was a little bit better because at least it showed them in more situations with the clone troopers themselves, so you get a little more there.
Okay.
But I watched it all with my son. I ended up buying all the DVDs.
I did have a question for a script. Did you see that scene where he finally gets them and they're all on the bikes?
Yes.
How come one scene looked really great, it looked real, then the next one looked phony?
Well, I mean, it's all on stagecraft, and I had an issue with this in the second season of The Mandalorian when they were on the train going to raid that Imperial base or whatever. One of the things that bothered me is that they don't seem to have synced up the rate of travel with regards to like a moving vehicle. So even though they're on on top of a train or riding a bike or something, the background doesn't seem to process the image fast enough to show it as it's moving past them at a consistent speed.
Is that what it is?
And on top of that too, there's not much in the way of lighting bouncing off of the actors when they're riding. And granted, you're not going to see that much in a place like the desert, but Tatooine has some weird aspects to it, like tall dunes and whatnot that can cast a shadow. So when you have basically a consistent flat light on an object, and it's traveling at a great speed, and the only shadow you're getting is basically the hovercraft on the ground, if that's not synced properly with the effects that are going on the screen, it's going to seem off. And here's the other part too: the stagecraft technology only works on basically above you, like on the ceiling, and then to the behind. The entire ground is not stagecraft, so that's got to be composited in after the fact. So when they're on these hover vehicles, you get the background that's live in camera, and then you have to have a composite put in after the fact once the film is processed, or in this case, the digital rendering is done. And I don't think they're able to sync that up with the technology because, again, it's in one shot where the people on the vehicle are coming towards you, the background is kind of motionless, so like it slowly pulls away. But when you do a side shot, you've got the dunes whipping by you really, really fast. But the human eye is very much has an acute sensitivity to speed.
Okay.
So if you don't have the distance going away synced up exactly as possible to the distance on the left or the right of the object, you're going to see something odd. So in the traditional sense, you'd put someone on a car and you'd shoot with 3 cameras in 3 directions, and you just drive, and then you'd speed that up or slow it down depending on what you do in the composite.
Right.
With stagecraft, it's all done computer generated. So in one direction, it's like, okay, this is the point they're starting at, this is the point they're ending, this is the rate of speed that it's going to be. And then they'll say, okay, now we're going to take it from a different angle, but we're going to make the dunes go by faster so we can really see that they're going fast. And then when they cut between the profile angle and then the perspective angle where it's coming towards you, for me, it doesn't look like the background syncs up at all. And that's what throws me off, because it's like, this looks way fake than it actually should be.
Okay.
And there's a YouTube channel, I can't remember its name, but they do CG recreations of practical effects. And they did one with Tron. The light speed races, like, can we recreate the light cycle race?
Yeah, I know the channel too, and I can't think of the name of it now.
And they do it, but the one thing that's really fantastic about that is that in the practical effect, the grid pattern on the ground travels faster, and it seems more real and fluid than the CGI one. The CGI one seems like it's very, very controlled, and it doesn't actually. It's kind of makes the light cycles appear slower than they actually are. Even though I think the grid pattern is identical to the physical one. It's just the computer doesn't process the image in the same rate that a film camera can, and that a cinematographer actually doing the object in real time does. And so that's why it makes the real one look like it's more intense, more consistent, and more engaging, where the CGI one, your mind isn't fooled by it because you see artifacts that are weird, and it just throws you off. And I think that's the issue that's happening with stagecraft for like a speeder scene or a chase scene of that nature.
Because half of it, I thank you so much for that.
Sorry for the long-winded diatribe.
That filled it in. My brain was taking and filling it in, but what I did, because now I understand, because half of it looks so real. I'm like, oh, I like that. It's like the originals. And then the other half, I'm like, that's fucking phony. I can see that it's phony.
Something's not right. Yeah.
Is it the Corridor crew?
Yes, the Corridor crew. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, but what I love about that is 9 times out of 10, when it comes to that stuff, they can never really quite get it right. No, they even had a hard time with Jurassic Park's CGI, which was hilarious.
They had a hard time with Jurassic Park, and they had a really hard time with the Death Star trench run.
Okay, why don't they do what they did in A New Hope? Whenever you'd see Luke and his speeder, it looked real. Why can't we get that? And that was in 76.
Because that was real.
Huh?
That was real.
It was real. It was why don't they do that on top of a chassis, and then the
I don't fucking know.
That's the part I don't get. Why don't they do that? I don't get that.
Would it cost them 99 cents?
Basically a Jeep. It was basically a Jeep chassis or whatever, or dune buggy chassis, and then they just put the speeder thing around it. Then underneath the speeder, there's mirrors.
Okay, why can't we do
put
that?
Vaseline on the bottom of the screen to smear that out.
But why can't we do that? Does anybody know?
The other part too is finding a long enough stretch of land to film on to make that look real.
I don't know how deep
you don't really want to drive out to the middle of Nevada or New Mexico to get that shot for that one thing, or fly to Tunisia to do a production over there.
I feel really ripped off when movies don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, Mike's got to leave, so
okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I got to run. They're waiting for me for dinner. The whole family's out front.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for being here. But since Mike's leaving, I'm going to take this opportunity to remind everybody that next week we're going to start an hour earlier than we have been. So we're going back to our original time. It'll be 6 Central, 7 Eastern. So don't forget that starting Tuesday, we'll be starting at our new time. But thank you for being here, Mike. And hopefully you have a good meal.
Yeah. Talk to you tomorrow. Love y'all. Bye. Bye, guys.
Night,
bye, everybody.
Have fun, Mikey.
Tennille says, script, I was describing the role of someone needed in the room, in the writer's room. And I asked if the role he was referring to is the Naismith. Okay, that was what he meant. Sorry about that.
No, a Naismith is usually the showrunner. Whenever they're saying, okay, what are we going to do to break story for the season? And you throw out your ideas and they go, nay, no, not. That's more the Naismith type of things. But I totally understand the perspective you're acquiring about there. Yeah, there are writers that say, no, that's a dumb idea. Those ones don't last long. The best way to do it, especially if you're in a group setting and you're in a hierarchy where you don't fully know everybody in the room, like you're acquaintances with them, but now you're going to be working with them on a weekly basis, and you'll be seeing them every day, and you have to build that relationship. The best way to sort of highlight a terrible idea is to just explore it. Be like, okay, cool. And then just say, what does that mean? Can we do this? Can we do that? And then put out suggestions with that idea. Because if you recognize a bad idea, you know it's bad. And if you're, educated enough or experienced enough to know why it's bad, you know what questions to ask in order to expose how bad of an idea that is. So just ask those questions instead of actually saying that it's bad and saying why it's bad. Just ask those questions. And basically, if everyone else in the room is doing their job and worth their weight in salt, they will come up with the answers and realize, oh yeah, that's a bad idea. We'll probably have to scrap that. Thank God we didn't, waste, a week trying to write a script with that thing and then move on to something else. And in some cases, you might actually end up coming up with a really great idea or an answer that makes that bad idea good, in which case then you've now done your job. You've made the idea that was pitched usable, valuable to the story, and you move it forward.
I'm never falling for that again. Dark King, I think I grabbed your super chat, but let me go back and double check just to make sure. You guys can keep talking while I'm looking.
Sure. You want to do the Professor Gray
Oh
one?
yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah, why don't you read that one for me, script, while I'm looking, just to be sure.
All right. So Professor
Thanks.
Gray for $5. Thank you very much for the super chat. Loki, WandaVision, Mandalorian, now Boba Fett. Is Disney just taking potential movies and making bad miniseries? It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's odd. Why do you think that I mean, if their long-term goal is to gain more subscriptions, and I'm talking inside the country, not what they're doing with their India. Yeah. Because I read that they're just signing people up at almost nothing just so they can pad their numbers. Then what is holding them back, or what decision process is?
Because they own so much, and they're going to own so much more that it doesn't matter. You're just going to end up liking what you're told to like.
Right. At the end of the day, though, at some point it will collide. Everything matters, because if you have everything treated that way, it will fail. And sometimes it'll create a perfect storm. It's just, is it this year, next year? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
because you're talking about basically they've inadvertently, whether they've done it intentionally or not, at least we could say inadvertently they've established a pattern of low quality execution on their TV side of things.
Correct.
And we saw some echoes of that in 3 out of 4 of the movies they released this year.
Yes.
So I would say it comes to the fact that because Feige, as he got more power in Marvel, he basically turned Marvel Studios into a theatrical variation of a TV's writer's room. There's all these movies of their own independent franchise with a parent franchise of Marvel, all interconnected to some degree, all flowing into each other to create this massive universe. And now they're going on to the TV side of thing, which should have the same rules, but what they end up doing is they're inverting it. They're now making each series its own kind of feature film, and instead of just doing it as a feature film, they are padding it out and expanding it to, a 5, 6, or 7 episode arc. And I think they're doing that for a couple of reasons. The first one is that they figured TV is supposed to be of that nature, smaller episodes, make it more concise, make it more exclusive. The second reason is subscriber retention. When you have something like, between 6 and 8 episodes, that could, and if you do it in mid-month premieres, which is what we've been seeing from Disney Plus recently, that gives you 3 months of guaranteed subscriber money. And once you cut off the overhead with the maintenance of that streaming service, then everything else just becomes profit that can be put towards paying off the series that was put into production. So if you do your basic numbers of math, say 100 subscribers at $12 a month, you do the math, that's a lot of money. And the infrastructure system is not going to come near 2 or 3% of that annually to run it. So if they can maintain that for a year, they've made a massive amount of profit. And now all they have to do is worry about the expenses of account maintenance and production costs. So as long as they maintain the subscriber count, they're always going to be able to argue, yeah, we're making a profit to some degree. But because all that money goes into the same coffers of the rest of Disney, they're losing it everywhere else. They're not going to see any of their finances in the black.
Right. So does that mean that they're using the films in a sort of way, the shows in a sort of way to?
I think they're using the films to prop up the shows, and then by and large hoping that the shows kind of carry people into the films. Because essentially what they're end up doing is they're guaranteeing a ticket sale every month from all of their viewers. Right. Which I think, which I mentioned yesterday on the live show, they have approximately 115 million fans worldwide for Marvel. And if they get 115 million subscribers, that's a lot of money to go in there. And just think of it this way. That's kind of like $1 billion a month.
Right. But they have to keep them in order. He's going to have to provide them quality content. Then are they just counting on always having them?
Well, the thing is, I think they're betting that they can always have them based on brand recognition. But the truth of the matter is, and what to your point, is that the pattern recognition of lack of quality compromises that brand recognition, that brand stability. So
they just need that one show that makes people not quit.
Yeah, they need that one show
that makes people not quit, random person
that holds them for a minimum of 3 months to watch it and maybe rewatch it, and they'll be happy. And the fact of the matter is that I don't think. Well, they may have the technical infrastructure to produce and distribute. They don't have the actual development team that they need, and I don't think they're giving them the windows that they want. And I think Favreau who's a guy who I've read lots of his work. I've read some of the scripts that have never been made that are quite good. I think he's just stuck in a certain box of what he can do, what he can't do, and he's trying to be respectful of that, because anytime he did push back, because he did push back against Disney before during Iron Man 2, and he almost lost his career to a degree as a result of that.
But
He had to earn himself back with Chef and by basically getting to the good graces with some of the other people at Disney and Marvel.
But isn't it different now? Isn't he much big? I mean, he's bigger than what he was back with Iron Man 2, no?
Definitely, but I don't. But he's also not a stupid man, so I don't think he's willing to let that ego of his, love of his position, threaten his ability to continue to make Star Wars content. Because I mean, he's kind of got a dream job right now for creators from his generation. I mean, he's working on Star Wars. That's the best thing to kind of say, right?
I thought they were going to turn it over to him when her contract before they renewed it.
No, they'd never do that because one, Favreau is not administrative. He is a creative, pure and pure. Mm-hmm. Like that's the other thing too. Like as dumb as Disney is overall, especially the last 20 years, they do know that if they put a creative in a business acumen, business financial position, it's basically like just aiming a gun at their forehead and pulling the trigger. It's like it's self-deletion at that point. Right, they don't know anything about running a business. They may know what a customer wants. They may know how to deliver creatively to satisfy those needs.
Right.
But all the administrative aspects of it, the balancing out of the books, the understanding the finances, understanding projections, that's not something that creative likes, and they'll never want to do it. So even if they were to offer Favreau the job, he'll just say thanks, but no thanks. You need me here because I can make stuff for you, but you need someone to be able to administer and sell that. And that's why whenever there's talks about Kathleen Kennedy leaving, it's like, those are irrelevant. You have to pay attention to who is the up-and-comer in Lucasfilm that could replace Kathleen Kennedy. That's the person you have to pay attention to, because as soon as the studio starts talking about them, that's when you know she's going to be out the door. And that's why I've been adamant saying she's not leaving until she wants to leave.
Yeah.
So how did Lucas do it? He was a creative. How did he budget everything when he was starting?
That got him between it all. Yeah.
Actually, he didn't. That's the problem. That's the reason why he ended up becoming a producer after Return of the Jedi.
And it possibly got in the middle of his marriage as well.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, there's that too. Like the responsibility of owning an independent studio, which is now actually functioning like the big studios that he hated, you know, made him pretty bitter. And then his wife, you know, cheated on him.
Yeah,
with the carpenter who did the library at Skywalker Ranch. Their marriage fell apart, and while they were in the process of adopting their first child.
Right.
So that's a big issue. And during that time, he basically said, I can't keep making these Star Wars movies as I planned. I'm just going to wrap everything up in Return of the Jedi and stick to being a parent and a producer on the side. And once that was, Gary Kurtz had already left by that point. That was his kind of like his business partner who was keeping him on track of things, along with Marcia and some other people. And once that was done, he got Rick McCallum, who was and still is a really great producer. He helped do the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. He was pretty much the head of Lucasfilm that entire time. He was doing all of the administrative stuff, and George was just there, kind of supervising to, you know, who you, you know, just say, hey, boss, we're doing this, and he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds good, or George Lucas says, I want to do this with video games, and McCallum and some of the other people would say, okay, we'll put together a team and we'll see what we can come up with. Lucas wasn't as hands-on as we would like to think he was, because he did spend most of his time being a father to 3 children from the 80s up until the early 2000s, until he got remarried and had his daughter. But Rick McCallum was the head of Lucasfilm, and arguably he kept Lucasfilm alive and successful throughout the entire 90s and early 2000s.
Damn it. So he let us down. The one time Hollywood lets us down, you know, all he had to do was be a bad parent and we'd still have good Star Wars.
I just want to say real quick, because there's a lot of people like, you know, I hate Marshall Lucas now and stuff like that. There's a much longer, there's much more nuance.
Bigger story than that.
Story.
Like, Lucas
sure
did not
he kind of almost like, it could almost be seen that he was being very possessive of her too. Like the whole
he was
point
possessive
of
and at the same time distant.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's like, no one touched my wife, but I'm never going to see her because I'm too busy working on Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and he was basically building Lucasfilm so she didn't have to go anywhere anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's that too. It's like, he wanted it to be the independent studio that every indie guy could go to, rent for very cheap, and use.
Right, but why did he sell that out? That's what I still never have understood.
Well, he still owns it.
I thought he sold it to Disney completely. And then
Lucasfilm he did.
Lucasfilm he did, but the properties he still owns.
Oh no, the properties he owns, but
ILM he technically still owns too.
But isn't it now being run kind of like Disney? It's no longer like it was when he started.
Disney runs the Lucasfilm side of things, and they do
Disney
own
runs the Lucasfilm side of things. And the other part too is that even though Lucas, the properties of Indiana Jones and Star Wars were made under Lucasfilm, their creation is still owned by Lucas and Spielberg.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought all that's okay. That's good to know.
I mean, it's way more complicated than expected. But when Rick McCallum,
very complex, yes.
Rick McCallum left Disney a few months before Kathleen Kennedy was appointed president. Mm-hmm. And that was always suspicious to me because I'm like, why is this guy leaving? He had a sweet job. He was the big yes man over at Lucasfilm for George. Mm-hmm. But again, without him, the company would have had another yes man or what have you. It probably wouldn't have been as successful either way because McCallum was like
Rick was too much of a yes man.
He was too much of a yes man to George, but if you didn't do what would need to be done, he would freak out at you to a degree.
I didn't like Rick McCallum. I never did, but that's just me.
I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but he's always been like, I did talk to him once on the phone. He was always a nice guy, really encouraging. But like if you crossed him, he would basically set you straight or kick you out. And then he just kind of quietly retired from Lucasfilm, which is weird because producers never quietly retire at all. And he quietly retired from Lucasfilm and went to Europe to start another production company, which is really weird. Like it's very, very strange behavior for Hollywood. And then Kathleen Kennedy, who people would probably know of because of her association with Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall, kind of just took the spot. And everybody was like, okay, on paper, yeah, she's great. But like, we don't really know her and how involved was she in all these other productions? And wasn't she also one of the dancing girls and the Temple of Doom? It's like there was lots of questions throwing off there, and now we're seeing the fruits of those questions being answered in her administrative run of Lucasfilm today.
Well, I've never understood how Kathleen Kennedy has that much power that she has it, even though a majority of
the first female president of a major independent studio.
I know, but she's okay. Well, we're gonna have to talk
about she's a fuck up.
The title alone that gives her power.
Right, I understand that, but her film should have done what the Avengers Infinity War and then Endgame did, but they kept getting lower and lower. People don't like her. The products don't. So, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, does none of that matter? Just matters that she's the first, period?
Correct.
Yes, actually, sadly, with the current climate in town, sadly, that matters more than, I mean.
So she's bulletproof is what you're saying right now.
Regardless of the decline in financial gain, the fact that it still crossed like $1 billion for each film of the major trilogy, and then the other two solo, it lost money, but Rogue One did fairly well. And then she can, again, anything with regards to Star Wars that's being put out, she's
doing better than most batters in baseball.
Exactly. And the other part too is she can put her name to anything Star Wars because she's the president of Lucasfilm. So anything that Star Wars that's good that people like, she can put her name to.
So she takes credit for that.
Exactly.
Put her name to it and always use that as part of her credentials.
So you're telling me the Mandalorian, she took credit for all of that?
Of course she did.
Of course she did. She's the one that said, "Hey, Jon Favreau, go talk to Dave Filoni, see what you can do." That's all.
Even though Bob Iger was the one who supposedly got the original email from Favreau, she totally took all the credit for it.
And that's what producers do.
Don't they? Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to get to Dark King's super chat. Here, because actually I'm going to follow you over to Comics Division here as soon as we wrap this up. Dark King sends in an Australian $5 and says the Tuscans in Star Wars are a great example of the noble savage fallacy creeping into fiction. They started before Disney and got their hands on it too. This is kind of what I was getting to without trying to get too deep in the trenches with shit. Like I should have went more with like the Tuscan Raiders are probably more like Neanderthals in my mind than anything, and to like do this to them like really kind of fucks with some of the
Dances with Wolves. It does a little bit. I haven't said that. It's kind of like I like your Dances with Dances.
I think we got that earlier, Dark King, but just to be sure, I made sure I went back and got it. But
well, you know what, Tom, you're forgetting that if someone isn't a honky, then they're a saint.
I know. And then Kalal Nova, if I'm saying it right, says at Script, if George Lucas was a ghostwriter, would Disney or Lucasfilm make that public or at least leak it out anonymously?
I don't know.
Last ditch effort, they would.
There's two sides to that coin, and I will say this. First of all, if they ever had George Lucas be involved in anything at this point, they would probably they would echo it from the hills. They would leak it as
photos like they did with George Lucas handing.
It would be all over the place. Like I never really believed much about him being involved with anything before when even we reported it so much I didn't buy it. But like if they did, I would think they would make a big fucking deal out of it.
Really?
Secondly, yes. Secondly, I don't know if he would, simply because he's not in any of the guilds, and I don't know how that shit works anymore. So that could give a reason why he would be a Ghost Rider, but at the same time,
no, even a Ghost Rider has WGA rules.
Yeah,
Like I still
so,
have to
like,
abide by
yeah.
them, even though I haven't made all my points necessary.
I was just
keep
gonna
the guild.
send it to you anyway, Script. So yeah.
But the other part, he could be on as a creative consultant because that's not part of any union or guild, so you're fine there.
But again, they would advertise that from the.
Actually, I think Lucas is still part of the PGA, so he might be part of the Producers Guild still.
Is he?
Isn't he in that Lifetime? I remember he won some award where it says it was a Lifetime.
Yeah, he won the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. American.
Yeah, but I don't think that has anything to do with guilds.
No, but I thought they had a lifetime appointments. That's what I'm saying. It was.
There's no such thing as lifetime appointments.
Isn't there in SAG a lifetime appointment for actors in the Screen Actors Guild? I thought there was. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because Kirk Douglas mentioned it.
You pay your union dues all the time, but your name is registered under SAG, and it is. But the thing is that if you're not acting anymore, or you're retired, or you passed away, or something, and someone wants to use your name as a stage name, they can. They just get a little parenthetical with a Roman numeral next to it.
That's why Michael J. Fox is Michael J. Fox.
Right.
Well, that's also because there's a Michael Fox that was still acting at the time when he started, like as opposed to.
And J isn't even his middle name, but yeah, that's my point exactly. And a better one is Michael Douglas, because
Michael Douglas, who's Michael
Keaton.
Yeah, so
because there was a Michael Douglas already, so
so that's.
But that's, I think, beside what George was asking, though. I think what you're asking, George, is. Yeah, like he said, you'll always be on the register. I don't know how
you can get kicked out for two reasons.
Benefits
One,
work.
The guild doesn't like you.
And
two, you don't pay your dues.
They can kick you out because they don't like you. That's literally a reason.
They kicked George Lucas out because they really didn't like what he was doing. Because George Lucas started Star Wars and there was no opening credits.
Yeah, there's a big bunch of shit that goes into it. That's why he's not the Directors Guild and a bunch of shit.
He was kicked out of the Directors Guild. And that he was kicked out for doing that, and also kicked out for paying Irvin Kershner's penalty for not having his name at the beginning of the Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. And basically, they said you can't pay his fine; he has to pay it. And Lucas said, "Well, screw you," essentially.
Even though Kershner was fine with it.
Even though Kershner was absolutely fine with it, yeah.
Wow.
Kershner didn't care. Yeah.
Okay.
Because as far as he was concerned, it was his movie, but it still didn't. It's semantics, but. George, they let him get away with it with the first one because he was the director. But they gave him a warning, basically, is what they did. And when he went and did it again with Empire, that's when they went on him full bore.
Yeah, and that's what forced him to get the BBC television director, to do Return of the Jedi.
And now, which is weird because of him and all that bullshit, I think that's why they ended up changing the rules anyway. So now basically George could do that, I think.
George could do that. I think they changed that in 1984. Was the
as I said, like right after all that mess kind of thing.
Yeah. So
which is kind of stupid, but the whole thing was just kind of like whatever.
It was between 80 and 84 is when all those things kind of changed, because he did it for Jedi, and the DGA was still upset, but he wasn't part of the DGA at that point. Neither was.
So they couldn't do nothing. Yeah.
So they couldn't do anything. Yeah.
That's why Marquand got hired. It was between him and a couple other people who were not part of the guild, and that's why Spielberg didn't direct.
That's why Spielberg didn't direct, and that's why Kershner couldn't come back to direct, even though they were both interested at the time.
Yeah, because his next go-to was Spielberg, but Spielberg was in the guild, so he couldn't do that. And then, so he had Ralph Marquand, and I don't think, was it Lynch was not in the guild yet at that point? That was why he was up for it originally?
Lynch wasn't interested.
He wasn't interested, but I don't think he was in the guild yet either.
I can't remember at that point, because
I can't remember either.
82 when they were working.
Yeah, when they were first putting it together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you over there, George. Thank you for being here, man. We're gonna wrap this up.
Great to see you, Jesse. Script. Thank you. Sorry for always bugging with all my 50 questions, but
no. You
always
keep the conversation going.
It's not even a bug.
And actually, this is part of the reason why we're going to move it back up an hour, because it's not conflicting with, the main crew's schedule anymore. We'll be able to have more time on the front end.
Okay,
to get into these conversations, because that's one thing that's been bothering me lately, is having to rush through the end of the show because we're butting into other things. Yeah,
no problem.
So I'll hopefully join you guys soon here. So.
Okay.
We're going to end this up here. Check out George the Giant Slayer. He just dropped a video today. I checked it out myself. Go head on over and check that out and all his other great videos. Check out everybody. Jesse over at Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest. Check out Script Doctor over at Script Doctor. Do any of you guys have anything? Any of you guys at all have anything you want to plug before we shut her down?
Yeah, I'm going to be dropping the second Boba Fett video will be Saturday or latest Sunday morning, just in case.
And I've decided to try to convince 1 million people to give me $5.
All of them to give you $5, or each one $5?
Each one $5.
Man, you never know. Crazy things.
That's a great plan.
Try it.
Good plan, yeah.
It's not a bad plan. And Script Doctor, you working on anything that's coming up?
Yeah, my Mac computer has just been returned to me, so I'm going to work on that video. If I can get it up before the weekend, it'd be awesome, but I don't know if that's the case because I do have some other responsibilities. But I had a great time doing a live stream of Ghostbusters video game remastered on Sunday.
Yeah,
so
it's good to see you playing video games.
I want to see
I'll probably
that.
do that Sunday
You were
morning.
enjoying that, it seemed like.
Yeah, that was
Isn't that game great?
Game. Yeah, it is great.
It really feels like you're using a proton pack.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know I'm a bad critic of that game, but
I just wish there was more ghost busting and less construct.
Well, I think there should have been an open format to it, to where you could just like got with your friends and busted ghosts. And
hell yeah!
Yeah,
Dude. I'm waiting for some news to come out from Milphonic, but there ain't been shit lately. So
well, hopefully we get some news on that soon, because that'd be cool. I know there is one they just dropped on the Sony PlayStation. Actually, I don't know if it's a VR game or what it is, but there's some Afterlife game on there. I was gonna try.
I saw that. That's some dumbed down thing.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Thank you, kids, for joining us. Make sure I didn't miss any super chats real quick. They're looking good. So thank you guys for all the super chats, all the love, all the likes, all the shares. Follow us over to Comics Division. Some of us will be over there. Take care of yourselves and have a good night.
The fuck?